Common Council meeting for Tuesday, July 20th, 2021. Has appropriate meeting notification been made?
Yes, Your Honor, it has.
If we would all stand and rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you would please remain standing, we just have a little fun video clip for you. And today is a special day, and we just want to show one of our own Oconomowoc folks sharing with you the wonderful thing that the Milwaukee Bucks are doing now. Ivan?
Here to perform the Star-Spangled Banner, a Milwaukee native who has performed at every Bucks home playoff game this season. Please welcome Ben Tyna.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we at the twilight's last gleam, broad stripes and bright stars through the peril fight, o'er the ramparts we watch, were so gallantly and the rockets regulate, the bombs bursting in air gave proof the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right.
Nice job. Nice job.
But yes, Bucks in 6. Let's hope it happens tonight. Well, welcome, everybody. The Bucks game will not take us away and make us not do our job here at council, but I thought it'd be nice to add a little something positive. Call roll, please.
Alderman Zaffel. Alderman Ellis. Alderman Spiegelberg. Here. Alderman Mulder. Alderman Shellpepper. Alderman Kavieski. Alderman Rozak.
Here. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve meeting minutes for July 6, 2021.
Rozak, so moved.
Zaffel, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On to comments and suggestions from citizens. So if you've just entered, there are blue cards in the back. It looks like we have a fair number of cards here. And what I want to explain is how the council meeting will be transpiring today. So we've adjusted the schedule. Our public hearing, 3 public hearings will start at 7:30. So what we'll do in the public comments section is address those topics that are not into the public hearing. So if you've given me a blue card, we'll save those to the public hearing if it's one of the 3 items on our agenda. During the public hearing, you have an opportunity to share with council your thoughts on specific issues of any kind here in the city of Oconomowoc. We do have a time limit. You'll have a little clock that'll be on your laptop when you come up to the podium. We'd like to try to limit it to 3 if possible, 3 minutes if possible. If you're repeating something from someone else, if you could just make that short and to the point, we would really appreciate it. And when you come up to the podium, please state your name, your address, what city, village, or town you're from, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start the clock and go from there. So we're going to start off first with Diane Kiefer. Good evening, Dan.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Diane Kiefer. I live in the town of Oconomowoc, and I'm here tonight to address the pit bull ordinance. I'm not a good public speaker, so. I'm also a mother, and I've had a daughter that was severely injured and bitten by a dog. She was 7 years old at a time, and she was at a friend's house playing. The parents were in the room when it occurred, and they had to pull the dog off of her. It was very traumatic for us. My daughter is now 35 years old. They took her to Children's Hospital. She had 3 hours of plastic surgery. The dog actually bit right through her cheek into her mouth. It was very, very traumatic. The worst thing about this is the doctors told me that if she wouldn't have been wearing her glasses at the time, the dog would have bit her in the eye. This dog had bitten others before, and the parents were aware. This dog was not a pit bull. This dog was a lab shepherd mix. And the reason I'm here tonight to address this issue is because all dogs can bite, and all dogs can cause damage. The bigger the dog, the worse the bite. There are a lot of big dogs out there, and we don't profile those breeds. There are a lot of states that do prohibit breed restrictive legislation so that small towns don't enact these ordinances. In this community and around us, there are no current pit bull legislation, but there are laws that protect citizens against dogs who have known biters, have been treated cruelly or inhumane. And that's the legislation I'd like to see to protect all citizens against dogs who are known to bite and hurt individuals. I think that when you get into legislation or ordinances that say one breed is the bad guy, I think that there's a lot of data that points that that's not true even in this community. I did bring a letter from one of the businesses here that works with animals, and they too, I'll pass this over, have said that their businesses here in Oconomowoc, they deal with a lot of breeds. Pit bulls are no more dangerous than any other breed if properly handled and trained. Breed profiling does not ensure safety. All dogs can be loving and kind when they are properly trained and handled, and any breed can be dangerous if not properly trained. We are not in favor of breed profiling because it doesn't serve any purpose. So I please ask you not to profile this animal and to show that this is a community where we don't profile animals or anything else, because that's not cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Hoffman. If you could please state your full address and city location, please.
Lori Hoffman, 1009 North 2nd Street in
Want to pull
Watertown.
up your mic, please?
I'm sorry.
Pull up the mic.
Lori Hoffman, 1009 North 2nd Street in Watertown. I was asked to come speak by an Oconomowoc resident. So I'm also advocating, like the previous person, that you have no breed-specific laws. When we advocate for breed-neutral laws, we're often asked to explain why specific dog bite-related fatalities are not breed-related. I would like to address this here. This is not fun. In 2014, a 7-year-old boy was tragically killed by a dog his stepdad was training to be a protection dog for a client. This trainer of police dogs had no business training a dog that was not bred and selected to withstand the extremely harsh training methods used with police dogs in the US. In 2013 was the tragic death of a 14-month-old boy killed by his babysitter's 2 dogs. The police report called the situation that led to this incident the perfect storm. There are many facts in the police report that make me think that there were multiple problems with the behavior of the dogs long before the incident. Here are a few. The dogs were pulled from the litter at just 3 weeks of age. This is significant because during the first 8 weeks of life, puppies learn bite inhibition and impulse control from their mother and siblings. The earlier a dog is pulled from the litter, the higher the risk that the puppy will grow up without either of these critical skills. Orphan pups can get remedial evaluation and training from qualified force-free trainers, but the dog's owner must seek out this training and follow through. According to the police report, neither of these dogs received any formal training. 2, there were early signs of trouble not addressed by training and management. The male was treated for scabs and skin infection from, quote, wrestling with the other pup at a young age, according to the veterinarian's notes. The female's chart read, go slow, reactive. A reactive dog is telling you that something is wrong. 3, the dogs had not been to a vet in quite a while, in spite of the fact that the male had been extremely sick for the previous 3 days prior to the incident. Both dogs were overdue for distemper and heartworm tests. They had previously been kept current on vet care. What changed? Was this because their behavior had become so unmanageable that they didn't want to take the dogs out in public? I believe this is very likely given the other markers.
If you could wrap up, please.
Yep. Aside from these 2 very preventable incidents, Wisconsin has had no dog bite incident-related fatality in the past 10 years. None in the past 5 years, and none other than these 2 in the past 10 years. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Michael Fagan.
Good evening. I'm Michael Fagan. I live at 39933 Valley Road, Oconomowoc, which is actually just across the street from the city borders in the village of Summit. I am a veterinarian at Hallett Veterinary Hospital, also just across the street from the city limits on Brown Street. We are a small animal practice, meaning we see almost exclusively dogs and cats. So I have about 30 years experience in treating and interacting with dogs. In those 30 years, I've never been bitten by a pit bull. I have been bitten or had attempted bites from almost every other breed that I've seen. Any dog can be dangerous. A small dog can inflict enough tissue damage to cause severe infections that can lead to disability. And any dog 20 pounds or up can inflict life-threatening injuries. Pit bull dogs are very strong, but they shouldn't be viewed any differently than any other large, strong dog. Mastiffs can inflict life-threatening injuries. Rottweilers can inflict life-threatening injuries, as well as pit bulls. But the animal needs to be dealt with individually. If it's a relaxed, calm, friendly dog, it is not going to require additional handling any more than any other dog would need. On the other hand, if it's a fearful, reactive dog, the owner needs to take precautions, whether that dog is a pit bull or a German Shepherd or a Great Dane. There was a recent mauling of a child a few years ago in the village of Summit by a Great Dane. So to define one breed as dangerous while ignoring all other potentially dangerous breeds is, in my opinion, ridiculous. So I think the ordinance as it stands without the paragraph relating to pit bulls is sufficient to address dangerous dogs. Thank you.
Thank you. I have several comments here. They're all related to the Viridian development. Are there any other public comments that you would like to make before the public hearing? Anyone else in the audience? Any other cards? Yes, please. If you could please state your name, your address, and what city, state, or village you're from, please.
My name is Denise Craig. I live in Watertown, Wisconsin, and I was asked by a friend to speak. I am against BSL. People often justified breed-specific legislation with studies done by doctors. Let's look at 2 of these. Radiologists Pinkney and Kennedy attempted to calculate breed-specific risk for dog bite-related fatalities in the U.S. over a 15-year period. When they added up the total by breed, they got German Shepherds 16, Huskies 9, St. Bernards 8, and Pit Bulls 6. They divided these numbers by AKC registrations for a single year in 1976. For all pit bull type dogs, they used the 929 AKC registrations of English Bull Terriers. But in 1976, there were over 23,000 American Pit Bull Terriers registered with the UKC alone. Their study was published in peer-reviewed medical journal Pediatrics in 1982. Pinckney and Kennedy's glaring error was finally caught and publicized at a conference at Tufts University in 1986. The correction would have placed German Shepherds at the top of Pinckney and Kennedy's breed-specific risk chart. Their erroneous paper would be subsequently cited in 82 other scientific journal articles and legal opinions, setting off a cascade of poorly researched studies. Doctors Binney and Cohn's paper attempted to prove that pit bulls inflict more severe injuries on dog bite victims. The authors relied on a grab bag of unscientific sources for both data and context, including dog rescue websites, the website of a personal injury lawyer, and a video produced by dogsbite.org. Let me tell you a little bit of dogsbite.org. The site's creator, Colleen Lynn, started her career as an online fortune teller and website publisher. In 2007, Lynn was bitten by a dog. With a large insurance settlement in hand, she published dogsbite.org. Before her bite injury, Lynn maintained the fortune-telling website divinelady.com, in which she referred to herself as Divine Lady, Beholder of the Soul. The site is poorly sourced and is littered with childish ad omniums like science whore, a term used to describe the veterinarians and behaviorists who insist that there is no specific basics for breed bans. Dogsbite.org is not a credible source. There isn't enough time to list the glaring errors. I have other sheets to hand out to you as well. And I'd also like to say I have been a dog groomer for over 20 years, and I have never been bit by a pit bull.
Thank you. Could you repeat your name? We missed your name.
Denise Craig.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments other than the Viridian development for public hearing? Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to consent agenda items. I'd entertain a motion from the council.
So move, Zaffel.
Second, Ellis.
Alderman Spielberger.
I'd like to take item A out of consent agenda. We sort of had an unwritten policy starting a couple years ago that anytime something was a budget amendment, that we would take that out of consent agenda.
Oh, good idea.
Do you make the motion?
So we'd like to make, why don't we revise the motion?
I don't think she has to make the motion on this one. I
No,
think she
she
could
just
just
wants to
ask for
remove
the
it.
item to be
Yeah.
removed.
Okay, it's removed.
Okay.
We have a motion on the table, second. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel?
Aye.
Alderman Ellis?
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski?
Aye.
Alderman Rozak?
Aye.
Great. Let's move on to budget amendment for 2021. Grants donations received January 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2021. Entertain a motion.
So moved, Spiegelberg.
Rozak, second.
Any further discussion? Alderman Kavieski?
I'm not looking to oppose this at all, and I appreciate all of the contributions associated with this. Is there a detailed area that people can see who contributed to the grants for like 517 and the skate park and other projects?
We can provide that, but I don't think it's in the packet. Yeah. Yeah. I can look into that for you, sir, and see if we can get that information. So. Entertain any further comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel?
Aye.
Alderman Ellis?
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski?
Aye.
Alderman Rozak?
Aye.
On to committee reports, public services, consider act on preliminary resolution 21-R2970, declaring intent of levy special assessments under municipal police power pursuant of section 66.0703 Wisconsin state statutes. It's a Regent Road area. in Olympia. Mr. Duffy.
We'll do it in 9 seconds, which your timer says. Special,
sorry
intent
about
for
that.
special assessments, as we talked about Olympia Fields, this is a prior agreement from 1998 with the owners of those units on Regent Road on the north side of Lock Lake, or the pond over at Olympia. Because of this development agreement and because of tax incremental district number 7, we are upgrading that road to public standards, with that agreement, special assessing those benefiting property owners. There's 120 of them. This is the first step in a process related to levying special assessments. It directs staff to present notices to those individuals. Included in your packet is that developers agreement, the engineers report, which identifies the amount that will be levied against those properties for these improvements. So I ask for your approval of that resolution to start that process, and staff will move towards having a public hearing on August 3rd.
Alderman Rozak.
Real briefly, Bob, as we were working towards the Olympia Development Project and the TIF and everything out there, did we ever reach out to these folks? I mean, I know they had an agreement with us in 1998 that they would be agreeable to the special assessment, but during the Olympia process, did we ever, I don't know.
I know
knock on
I
some
had a
doors?
conversation with vacation owners who owns 30 units. I believe Vanguard has had a conversation with the investor owners of the, I want to say they're the apartments.
Yeah.
We
okay.
have not individually reached out. How this area has changed.
Right.
I mean,
As long as there was,
TPW, Lake Country, who owns the apartments, also owned the other building.
Right.
And then they turned around and started selling those units as condos. We did not individually reach out to those individuals. However, that was specifically included in the agreement.
Right, and it sounds like there was some attempt to reach out. That's all I'm hoping for. I think in the future, if we do something like this again, it might be a good idea to send these guys a letter, just, hey, just so you know. And then the second question, when I actually look through the schedule on the special assessment, in the memo, it says the cost, they'll be responsible for 50% of the cost, but then in the schedule, it's still the full amount, the 39 whatever. So are they only paying like?
Well, so what the engineers did is, if you look at the engineering report, there's 2 columns, total construction cost. And then there's a column that talks about accessible cost to the Regent Road.
Gotcha.
So if you look at page.
That's why
I have
they're,
to get
even
to
though it says 50%, it's still 3,600. It's not 50% of the 3,600.
That is correct.
Okay.
It's 3,900.
Is the 50% of the total
That is correct.
cost?
So if you look at the report, and it's pretty small, but it's total construction costs, and then that other column is total accessible costs.
Got it.
Which is that conversion.
Yep.
Of the 50% of total project cost.
Thank you. Perfect.
Entertain a motion.
So move Zaffel.
Kavieski, second.
Ellis?
Call roll, please.
Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
On to our next item, consider act on resolution 21-R2969, awarding electric cable replacement and supplemental labor contract. Mr. Pickard.
This evening, again, I'm asking for your approval this time for moving forward with cable replacement supplemental labor contract. It is a unit price contract. There were 9 companies that took out the RFQ paperwork. 5 returned: Intren, NPL Construction, Henkels and McCoy, MP Systems, and Intercon put a no bid letter in saying they were too busy to accommodate. The low bid was $638, $316.95. That was Intren LLC. These are all budgeted items for this year for capital improvement. There's $1,450,000 in the budget, and that includes the cost of material also. So I'm asking for a 10% contingency, so a total of $702,148.64.
I'd like to entertain a motion. Alderman Zaffel.
I just want to say thank you to Joe and your staff for this, getting multiple contractors to bid on the work. In a time where there are contractors that are turning down work because they're too busy, I just think that shows that a lot of people want to do work and business here in Oconomowoc. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
So move Zaffel.
Kavieski, second.
Kavieski, second. Call roll, please.
Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
On to our next items under Plan Commission. Item 8, consider act on final plat map for Morgan Station subdivision located at 9740 Valley Road. Mr. Gallo.
Good evening. We have 4 items on the agenda that are non-public hearing related items. We're going to try to get through those right now. All of these have come to the Common Council this evening with a recommendation from the Plan Commission for them asking you to take action on these. The first is the Morgan Station subdivision. This is the final plat. It creates 47 single-family lots down on Valley Road. The zoning is in place of suburban residential. They came in with a preliminary plat that this body approved in February of this year, 2021. The developer's agreement was approved in June of 2021. This final plat that's before you, that's in your packets, is consistent with the preliminary plat. We recommend approval of the plat as submitted. It has been reviewed for technical, and we are comfortable with the plat as submitted.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Gallo? Entertain a motion, please.
Rozak, so moved.
Second Zaffel.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
On to our next item, Mr. Gallo.
Next item is the condominium plat for the park at Prairie Creek Ridge. This is a plat, and it has to come before the Common Council. The Plan Commission did recommend it. It creates 16 duplexes, which would be 32 units, and then 8 4-unit buildings, which is another 32 units. That's 64 units. This plat, though, does not show all of them. This will be a phased development. This one will only have the first 20 units being shown. This is a pretty standardized thing. We did approve the zoning. This is very consistent with what they showed us at the time of the multifamily zoning that was granted. There was one discussion about visitor parking stalls. The Plan Commission talked about that, and the applicant decided to put in 13 on-site visitor parking stalls. Outside of each unit will have a 2-car garage and parking behind that, but this is in addition, so when people have parties for Bucks games, they can have some overflow parking. There's also a clubhouse with additional parking by that. Plan Commission did review this, staff also reviewed it. We're comfortable with the plans as submitted.
Any questions for Mr. Gallo? Alderman Kavieski.
It's nice to see they address parking in this.
Yes.
Yeah. We should address parking in more things.
Good comment.
Mayor, just one.
What's that?
I just want the folks to know that are watching, some of these become really routine, but we've got big packets of stuff that we look at ahead of time and make sure they look in conformance. We get great reports, and Jason, all the packets reports, because we got a lot tonight, were very detailed, hit the points we needed to, so I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm in support of this.
Like to entertain a motion?
So moved, Rozak.
Kavieski, second.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Our next item, Mr. Gallo.
Next is a certified survey map that's actually located in the town of Oconomowoc. We do review some land divisions in the town and some land combinations that are within a 3-mile proximity to the city's borders. It's called our extraterritorial review. This is for Carroll Post, and it is on the northeast corner of Marquette Street and Yale Street. This is a very close proximity to the city borders, only 565 linear feet from the closest city lot line, which is about 1/10 of a mile. This is a simple land combination. It is a vacant site. It'll be used for residential purposes. It's approximately 13,500 square feet. No formal technical review was done on this document because it is being reviewed by both the town and Waukesha County, But we see no problems with this, and the Plan Commission did recommend approval of the certified survey map to combine 2 lots into one.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved,
So moved,
Kavieski.
Ellis. All in favor? Aye.
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 On to our next item.
The next item is a final plat for a residential subdivision called the Meadowlands Subdivision. It is located in the town of Oconomowoc on the southwest corner of County Road K and Road J. It's just over 1 mile from the city. This is a 31-lot, single-family residential on 45 acres. The preliminary plat came before the city in July of 2020, and now they're bringing in the final plat. There was a little hiccup. We approved a certified survey map that transferred a small sliver of land from one property of this plat into to the neighbor. It was about 4,600 square feet because some trees were planted inadvertently on the platted lands. So the applicant who's here this evening did transfer that over by certified survey map that the city approved. The layout is consistent with the preliminary plat. The Plan Commission did recommend approval of this final plat.
Any questions for Mr. Gallo? Entertain a motion.
So move Zaffel.
Second, Spiegelberg.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. On to some unfinished.
Recovery Center about 1 year ago in July of 2020, and they've been working very hard. One of the conditions of their conditional use permit is that they come back a year later after operation and report back to the council. Some of the reasonings for that is we wanted to know the impact of the police and fire district requirements. And they haven't actually been open, but I'm going to introduce Deb Adamus. She's here, and she'll tell you about what they've all been doing in the past 12 months.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Deb Adamus, or Deborah Adamus, with Bethany Christian Services. We were here a year ago, and I'm so pleased to announce that we are finally opening our doors. August 9th will be our grand opening, so we will start taking referrals at that time. We are onboarding 22 of our 34 staff starting Monday. So we're going to have a 10-day training for the new staff. So we're very excited about that. It has been truly a labor of love. We will be providing treatment, substance abuse treatment services to women, women with children, pregnant women. We'll have some specialties with pregnant women and women with children, but any woman who has a substance use disorder can come to Bethany Recovery Center. COVID kind of slowed us down a little bit, and we had a fire retaining wall that needed to be completed. That put us back at about 3 months, but we are ready to go.
All right.
So if anybody needs resources for residential treatment for women, send them our way.
All right. Council members, do you have any questions for Deborah?
Just look forward to having you open up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would we like to get an update on this in another year since they're not open at this point? I mean, they're meeting with, one of the conditions is they're meeting with WL, or Western Lakes Fire District. That's on a yearly basis, but I don't know, just some type of a formal update maybe in a year to see how you guys are doing.
Sounds great.
Are you okay with that?
Love to have you back and learn
Absolutely.
more.
Yeah, we'd love to come back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On to staff reports. PSC, public hearing regarding water rate increases. Ms. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm here tonight just to make sure that we're getting the word out about the water rate increase that is coming September 1st. The Public Service Commission will be holding a public hearing on August 12th at 1 o'clock. This is a telephone meeting, it's not an in-person meeting. Actually, it never is, it's always a telephone meeting. All of the people that are served by water by the city of Oconomowoc will receive the public's hearing notice in their bill. Should have got it yesterday or today or tomorrow. So I just wanted to make sure that they understood what was in their bill and that they had a chance to speak at the public hearing if they'd like to. And as I said before, the water rate increase will be effective September 1st. We're looking at about a 27% increase since it's been 9 years or 9+ years since we've had a water rate increase. 27.9% on the water rate increase translates to about $4.80 for the average residential customer. The other change you'll see on your water bill is public fire protection, which is now going to be direct charged on the water bills so that we charge all users, not just property owners. So those are the two changes that you'll find. We have also, just so you know, there's a two-step increase here. The first one starts September 1st. The second increase is after our new well 8 goes into service. We have to start making payments on that. That's the second part. It's all explained in the handout that everyone gets in their water bill.
When is the public hearing again?
August 12th at 1 o'clock.
What day is that? Is that like a Wednesday or something?
Thursday.
Yeah,
At 1 o'clock.
Thursday at 1 o'clock, yes.
Do we expect
They
a lot
also
of?
have 4 business days after that to take comments.
I
So they will
understand.
take comments until Wednesday of the following week.
This is the PSC that chose to do this
This
1
is, they
o'clock?
said it, yep.
And good luck getting anybody with a job, a life, or anything to show up at 1 o'clock in the middle of the week.
PSC.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Theirs is always in the afternoons, yeah.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I mean, so no one's gonna show up. Get the word out, but no one's
Most of
gonna
the
show up.
time, no one does anyway, but we want to make sure people know about it so you have a chance to if you'd like to.
That's government at its worst.
Question?
Okay?
Question?
Any other, Alderman Kavieski?
Can the public submit comment or
Yes.
inquire? So
4 days
maybe
after.
that should be part of maybe an article or some kind of public access information, where the public, while they may not be able to attend at that time,
Yep.
can submit comment, and where would they submit comment?
Yep, and it's in the notice that we're sending to you. So there's 3 ways that you can comment. You can comment orally on the telephone. There's a web comment that you can make and a mail-in comment that you can make. And as I said, they will continue to take, not just at the public hearing, but will continue to take comments for 4 business days after the public hearing.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay?
Alderman Spiegelberg?
In lieu of that, or in addition to that, it might behoove you to answer the question that we asked on the committee level, which was why we hadn't done this for 9 years. You did a very good job of explaining that. So maybe that would be some information that the public would like to know or hear at this time.
Well, sure. Every year we look at our rate of return that we get from the water utility. We have had a decent rate of return throughout, one that sustains the water utility at the level that it was at. Currently, we are undertaking larger capital projects, which includes the drilling of a new well and the infrastructure that follows the street construction right now. So they have a lot of capital projects coming up. The water rate increases is to cover those debt service payments that they need to make coming up.
Thank you.
Alderman Kavieski?
This has gone through several committees, and it's been before us for some time.
Yeah, we talked about this first last October, actually.
Yep.
So-
I think I don't know if you have the information in front of you or not. The average return for this particular part of the utility is not exorbitant, never been exorbitant. I think it's been in single digits.
The rate of return, you're saying?
Mhm.
Yes, so like last year our rate of return last year was 5.6%. Our authorized rate of return was 6.5. Our new authorized rate of return is going to be, and I don't remember if it says it in here or not, but I'm pretty sure it's right around that 5.6%. So we're close to it. We could have had a larger increase if we weren't doing as well as we are, but these are going to offset these capital costs, so. Is that what you were asking me?
Yeah, I think that's just good for the community to know that we're not.
It's not
Don't have-
30% or
yeah,
anything
we-
like that. Yes, the rate of return is
Gotcha.
about 5.6%, and the purpose of the rate of return is to be able to run the water utility and keep the infrastructure maintained.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Without objection, I'd like to move Committee Reports 13A1, which is the first reading of the pit bull ordinance, forward that we can address. For those in the audience, we're not allowed to start the public hearings until after 7:30, so I want to make sure that we stay within those guidelines. Council, are you okay if we move, this is one item we can move forward? Okay. Mr. Trebetusky, consider act on ordinance 21-01010, amending section of the city municipal code regarding pit bulls. It's the first reading.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This item has been brought up by Alderman Ellis and has gone to the Protection and Welfare Committee for a couple of meetings to take a review at that ordinance. The question at hand is really looking at the provision within the ordinance that defines or presumes pit bulls to be vicious, separate from any other animals within that ordinance. The committee took a look at it and decided that they would recommend it on to the full city council for further discussion tonight. And that's where we're at today. And I think with the mayor's permission, I would believe Alderman Ellis would like to make some more, like to give more comment.
Alderman Ellis?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to bring this this up, because I feel as though it's been something that has disturbed me for the last couple of years. By separating, segregating, by profiling one animal just for the sake of possibility really concerns me. I've been told on a number of occasions that we, as the animal owners, are the ones that, at the end of the day, bring up our pets. When they're young, they're moldable, they're pliable, and they're teachable. And it's up to us to bring them up in a fashion that will be good for the community. Granted, there have been a lot of stories about pit bulls, some good, some bad, but no more than any other dog. We just heard some testimony here. I also have a ton of emails which I received from individuals that showed support. Some of them have pit bulls, some of them do not. When I looked at the information that I brought to you all last 2 weeks ago, one of the things that was kind of surprising to me also was the fact that of all of the incidents of dog to human bites, the pit bull was not in the top 4. Okay, and I found that to be quite, with all the information that one gets, surprising. I think that I just think it's personally it's just wrong. Okay, you can't look at one specific breed of animal and just immediately say that specific breed is vicious. That I consider to be profiling. That I consider is just not right. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of an example of something that happened to me about 3 years ago. I was coming out of a state fair, and I was driving down the street. This is when the zipper was being, so it was more than 3 years ago. It was when the zipper was being reconstructed. And so there were detour signs all over the place. And as I was driving, I got to one intersection where I had to make a left. As I was beginning to make my left, a car goes blowing by me. I mean, this guy had to be doing 45, 50 miles an hour. This was a 25-mile-an-hour zone. I waited for him to pass. As I went ahead and I waited for him, now I have a Kia Sportage, and for me to get from 0 to 25 takes me about 2 hours, okay? Because I have a stick, yes. So I go ahead, I wait for him, he goes by me, I make the left, and as I'm going, I go 1 block and I see a police officer. on the side of the road, and I looked there, like everybody else does, you look at your speedometer, see what you're doing. I was doing 25 miles an hour, wasn't a big deal, and trust me, my engine was screaming at that point. All of a sudden, he pulls out, he hits his lights. I, just out of courtesy, pulled over. He pulls over with me. I went, what was I doing? He comes up to the car, knocks on my window. He says, do you know why I pulled you over? I said, sir, I really have no idea why you pulled me over. I caught you doing 45 in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. I'm sorry, that was not me. It was the car that's probably about 10 blocks up by now. It was absolutely not me. Sir, are you telling me that what I just said was not true? I need your license and your registration if you have that. At that point, I went ahead, I got into my, my glove compartment. I pulled it out with one hand, transferred it to the other, handed it to him. He snatches it out of my hand and walks back to his vehicle, at which point in time, he then goes ahead and he writes a ticket. He brings it back to my vehicle and he says, you know, I'm in a really good mood today, and because of that, I'm going to reduce this down to 40 miles an hour instead of 45. And so here's your paperwork, and you have to go to the municipal court, which happened to be in Oconomowoc, and I need for you to go ahead and sign this also stating that I did not profile you. Well, I looked at him, and I said, I guess I'm going to jail today because I am not signing that. Now, why do I bring this up? Because now you've got this dog, just been born, now is part of a family. That family has to train him to poop outside, to pee outside, to do those things that they necessarily have to do to become part of the citizens of Oconomowoc in this case. But the way this ordinance reads, regardless of that, regardless of how much time you spend on your dog, regardless of how much time you put into that dog, he is immediately considered vicious. And because of that, he falls under a whole new rule, separate rules. Now, some of you may not understand that because you won't have to deal with that. But a person like myself, highly educated, councilman, they don't see that. They don't see that. So I'm coming to you tonight. I'm not saying we need to redefine vicious animals. I'm saying we need to just scratch pit bulls as, oh my God, he's born, he's vicious. She's vicious.
I'd like to open up to council for discussion. Alderman Kavieski?
So you are a pit bull owner?
Yes.
You take your dog for a walk?
As a matter of fact, I do. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a little bit of information about my dog. I inherited my dog. My dad, God rest his soul, called me one day and told me that he had a dog once my mom passed away. And he told me it was a pit bull. And I went, you're joking, right? Those are the worst dogs in the world. And he said, no, they're not. I said, yeah, they are. To make a long story short, when he passed, I inherited him. And I actually had him for sale. I was not going to keep him. But as I went ahead and I spent more and more and more time with Charlie, I found out that they just got a bum rap because of Vic and because of other individuals who decided that they wanted to go ahead and fight them. Yeah, no. I do have a pit bull.
Cool. You take Charlie for walks?
Absolutely, I do.
You
I haven't taken him, well, yeah, I do.
Do you abide by the current ordinance?
Do I abide by the current ordinance?
Mm-hmm.
And what ordinance are you referring to?
The one you're looking to change.
As far as,
Well, right now, the ordinance says if that dog is out and you're walking the dog, it should have a muzzle on it. Do you muzzle your dog?
My dog stays in my yard. He does not go any further. He cannot because he's got a hip problem. The first year I had him, I was walking him over by Fowler Park, and a gentleman approached me and said that I needed to muzzle him. I said, "Oh, yeah, really?" I then called the city, and I said, "Okay, what's the ordinance here?" And they told me. At that point, I said, "Okay." Soon thereafter, my dog came down with a hip problem, at which point in time, he could no longer walk for miles at a time like I like to go. So now he goes out, he poops, and comes back in,
Do you
all
have
on
other
my
questions,
property.
Alderman Kavieski?
Have we issued any tickets to pit bulls in the city for not being muzzled?
Chief, can you comment to that historically? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot. You may not be able to be 100% accurate, but if you could help the council, that would be appreciated.
I can't recall at the top of my head. If it is, it's very few that we have. Most of the time, we issue a warning on those, and that's where we go. If there be a second violation, we would normally issue a citation.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Alderman Spiegelberg.
Well, I was going to kind of address the chief, but I'll leave it at
Chief,
that.
if you could come up, please.
Well, not necessarily, but, you know, there's a lot of statistics, there's a lot of emotion on both sides of this issue. The statistics tend to bear that these don't need to be, you know, singled out as vicious dogs. And I appreciated the letter that came from Chief Pfister recommending the change in the ordinance and believing that removing the paragraph about pit bulls presumed vicious is acceptable at this time. And I wanted to thank you for that, and I want to trust in that. And so I guess I didn't really have a question, but a comment. But I would also like to ask our mayor, who happens to be a vet, if he has a brief statement or opinion on this as well.
No, I mean, the behavior of the animal is a problem. We have an ordinance that addresses behavior in an animal. It shouldn't be breed specific, because I can think of a lot of breeds I would actually add to it as potentially vicious. That's my opinion, not as your mayor. That is my opinion as a licensed veterinarian for 30-plus years. Alderman Kavieski.
So when this came up previously, there was a lot of discussion about smaller dogs and the tendency of smaller dogs to nip or bite, and you gave an example of that. I gave an example of my history with pit bulls, where I had a pit bull attack my foot. You said that should be discounted because that was just one person's situation. Your example today was that your dog, Charlie, has been raised as a loving member of the family and community since birth. But there's a lot of pit bulls that get adopted out of kennels and shelters, and you don't necessarily know what their behavior is going to be. And really the statistics show that a majority of dog-related deaths are attributed to pit bulls, 65.6% in 2020. So the severity of incidents with pit bulls is really kind of where they get the presumed vicious, because when that attack occurs, and they are animals, and you can't control their every action or reaction. If a little kid comes up and pets them from the back and startles them, or aggressively approaches them from the front and startles them, those attacks tend to be severe. While, again, other dogs larger than 20 pounds, as mentioned, also can provide severe bites and life-altering interactions, the percentage of likelihood of that occurring with pit bulls is much higher. Not a little higher, but significantly higher. And shortly after we maintain this ordinance as it is right now, I know of an incident that occurred in a downtown business where a pit bull attacked another dog in the business, and they could not release that pit bull from that dog. It was a severe situation. The request of this ordinance to presume pit bulls as vicious and take precautions associated with that isn't a dig against the dog owner. I have several friends who own pit bulls, and they're great dogs. But those incidences where they interact with a person intentionally or unintentionally because of the way that interaction is going is severe, which is why this ordinance is in place. This ordinance is in place because of a pit bull attack at Pagonico. And previously, when this came forward, the chief at the time, and I totally respect altering positions, but I believe the chief at the time, when it came forward, recommended that this ordinance stay in place as is. No additional information is being presented on why this should be changed or stricken. I am completely in favor of keeping the ordinance the way it is. I believe it provides the community and the dog owner guidance on protective measures that will limit, hopefully, the potential danger and damage that could occur with the dog that has a bite force and higher rate of incidence, significantly more than any other breed.
To kind of help the audience, by claiming a breed as a vicious breed, they have to go through certain requirements. Those are being on a leash all the time, being enclosed in an enclosed area, and then if they're out on a leash, they have to wear a muzzle. And so those are the things. And for a vicious dog, that's really a good thing to happen. The question that this council is debating is whether it's breed specific. And you can see pros and cons on all sides of the argument. Alderman Rozak.
Well, I don't want to foreclose the debate, and I've got stuff to say, but we're missing 2 aldermen tonight. This is last time it was voted on by almost a full council. We actually were missing an alderman like we are now for my District 3. At the time this was voted on 3 years ago. So what I think we should do is move to table this tonight so that Alderman Mulder and Shell Pepper can take an opinion on this. This has
So
been
are you
around.
making a formal motion, sir?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to table this.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Open any further comments?
It's not debatable.
Oh, excuse me, it's not
I'm
debatable.
sorry, I didn't
A
hear who
call a roll, please.
I didn't hear who made the second.
Lou did.
Lou, okay,
A call roll, please.
yeah,
I can't talk about why I want to table it.
No,
table. All right,
you already did.
I kind of did.
You already did.
Yeah.
Alderman Zappel? No. Alderman Ellis?
Nay.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Nay.
Alderman Kavieski?
Aye.
Alderman Rozak?
Aye.
So the motion fails. I'd like to bring it back to open any further discussion. Alderman Rozak, you want to make a comment?
Sure. Well, now that we're in, I think, we just voted on this 3 years ago. Like I said in the last debate about the food court ordinance, I'm all for debate. But nothing new has been brought up. We don't have a public outcry from the actual citizens in the city. What we have is public comments from 2 people that live in a town, someone from Watertown and someone from the village. And this has been pushed by 1 alderman who has a pit bull. I have to be subjected to what seemed to me, and it's not a slight against you, Kevin, but we're talking about dogs. We're not talking about profiling humans. So we're talking about dogs. We're talking about the reality of why people over the years have considered pit bulls vicious. It has nothing to do with the color of the dog. It has nothing to do with anything other than its propensity for extreme violence. Now, the other thing we're not talking about here is, and I've heard this from several of the folks that spoke, and in quite a few of the emails I've seen, is other dogs bite more. We're not talking about bites. We're talking about the viciousness and the aggressiveness when a bite does occur. The numbers in America are very clear. Several groups, including the CDC, has been tracking this for, decades because of the popularity of the breed. Pit bulls are generally about 6 to 7% of the overall population of dogs of some kind or another. And from 2005 to 2020, dogs have killed 568 Americans. Out of those killed, 72% were a pit bull breed dog. Those are the numbers that are really critical for us to understand. It's really easy to say, look, we're not restricting pit bulls, just like we did in this debate 3 years ago. We're not telling you you can't have a pit bull. We're just saying, look, there is a difference physically with the dog, and there's a difference with the bite. That's provable. That's scientific. There was a reason they were bred to kill other dogs, and it didn't start with Michael Vick. It started back in the early 1900s, where they bred these dogs for generations to fight other dogs. There are also critical behavioral things with these animals. Number one, they do things that make you appear that it's play. This cons other dogs to come in and fight, like bowing their head, like wagging their tail slightly before you approach them. That makes you think the dog is going to be friendly, and then it attacks. Those are behavioral things that are part of the dog's genetics and the breeding. So look, there is science here. I don't discount the fact, and Kevin put it, pretty correctly, and a lot of people said this, bad people raise bad dogs. Bad people also raise bad kids. But certain dogs, like the pit bull, and what's very interestingly about this whole debate is in this ordinance, we actually do call out another dog, which is wolf hybrid dogs. And like pit bulls, depending upon how much wolf is in the dog, whether it's a shepherd or a lab, it's really hard to tell if it's a wolf hybrid. And yet we call out the wolf hybrid in here, but we're okay leaving that in discriminating or profiling wolf hybrid dogs. I've had friends who've had wolf hybrid dogs, really cool, pleasant dogs, but we still eliminate them and segregate them out in the ordinance, but no one seems to have a problem with that. Maybe they don't have as big a Facebook following, maybe they don't have as many websites. I don't quite understand, and I think they're cooler looking dogs. But at the end of the day, this is really a safety issue. I would like to have the whole council vote on this, but the information that was presented to us too was skewed, and I hate to do this, but we've been given all these numbers, and this wasn't the police gave us the right numbers, but then there's the top 3 ranking at the bottom that says Labrador Retriever 9 bites over a period of time, Lab Mix 9 bites, Terrier 4, Pit Bull's not in there. Well, if you add up the Pit Bull numbers and the Pit Bull Mix numbers, it's actually 6 bites. And like Alderman Shellpepper said, which is why I think it was important for him and Matt to be here for this debate, because it affects them and their community, is what is the actual percentage of those bites per the percentage of the dog? If the numbers that I track are correct, which is 6 to 7% of dogs are pit bulls, and a lot bigger percentage are labs or terriers or whatever, they're biting at a much higher percentage rate. So those are just the numbers that we were given. Look, I think this is, we've been given no additional information beyond what we were given 3 years ago. And again, I'm all for the debate, but bring forward something that changes other than my own personal beliefs because I have a pit bull or because I like pit bulls. The facts and the numbers actually don't lie.
Thank you. A couple of things. First off, in your packet that you received tonight was the petition from the Oconomowoc for the veterinarians in the area that are against the way the ordinance reads right now. Also, there were, I think, 9 or 10 additional emails at which I received that I wanted to go ahead and share with you all. So as far as that is concerned, Mac, there's more than just 1 or 2. There's quite a number. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and, because we've got a whole bunch of things going on, and I think this is just something that has to be done, I'd like to make a motion.
Can I hold you up? I have Alderman Kavieski. I want to make a comment, and I'll come back to you for the motion. Okay. Alderman Kavieski.
So while Alderman Ellis has stated that there are several documents that are in support of his position, there are also several documents that are in support of the position to maintain our ordinance the way it currently is, city residents. There is also some information that was provided back in 2018, which I forwarded on to our city administrator for the council to see. I think it would be prudent, and I would like to show those pictures that were provided for consideration. They're public documents. They were submitted if we can show those on the screen, the severity of,
I call the question.
There's no motion on the table, therefore there's no question. But there could be a motion.
so I would like to show those images that were included in the document that was submitted in public record in 2018, and again, submitted for council review and in public record for this discussion debate. The issue is the severity of the attacks and the nature of the attacks and why the consideration for the classification has been.
So what I'd
in
like to do is I'm
ordinance.
going to cut you off because you had a request. I want to honor that. So the pictures that are referenced, council has already seen. They're basically pictures of people that have been disfigured by pit bull attacks. And so I would like to do a poll of the council. And if the council wants to see those pictures, we will do our best to try to accomplish that. If they don't, then we'll move on with the motion. So all of those in favor of looking at these graphic pictures, please raise your hand. All those opposed?
I had adequate time to review these photos this morning when they were sent to
So
us
that
from the
is,
clerk.
we're not going to move forward with that. I'd like to go to Alderman Ellis for a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the changes as written and waive the second reading.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
I just want to say, I feel comforted hearing what the vet here has to say, what our chief of police has to say, what these vets, what these groomers have all said. We have a list of all these communities around us that don't have this ordinance. All of these communities are right around us. That also gives me some assurance, too, that people have done their due diligence and that this is the right thing to do.
Alderman Zaffel.
Just going to echo what Alderwoman Spielberg just said. I've done my due diligence, and I appreciate the information that's been provided to us, and I value the information from the vets in the area as well.
Alderman Kavieski.
This will be my last comment. Based on Alderman Spiegelberg's reference to the surrounding communities and what they're doing, I hope you remember that statement when we come up with other policy discussions as to what they're doing and how we should follow suit then with that.
This is a different topic than
I
I
know,
think the
I'm
one you're
just-
referring to.
Yep.
A motion has
Totally
been
different
made and it
ballgame.
has been seconded. Alderman Rozak, do you want to comment before vote?
Yeah, no, we shouldn't make a decision based on just what other communities do, but can be instructive, right? So it's interesting. It's interesting. That's a good debate. The only last thing I'll say is, we know that these dogs bite more and do more damage because the geeks that are actuaries and underwriters and insurance companies charge most home insurers a higher premium and or will not insure them if they have pit bulls, Rottweilers, or wolf hybrids. Those people understand that there are more claims and there are more damages. I'll just throw that out there. That's unbiased, right? Those are people that are just trying to make money and they know they're going to pay more on those cases.
So a motion is made, it's been seconded. We've had comment. Anything further before we vote? Call roll, please.
Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Nay.
Alderman Rozak.
Nay.
Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you. I'm sorry, folks, that took a little longer than we anticipated. We're going to move on and go back to our public hearing components. And we're going to first start with the Arrowwood subdivision. Mr. Gallo, can you please get us started here?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Common Council. I will introduce the public hearing this evening for Arrowwood subdivision rezoning. It's a rezoning of 269.9 acres. We'll call it 270. It's on the corner of Oconomowoc Parkway and Valley Road. It also has frontage on Concord Road. I'll keep these comments very brief, and I'll be available to answer any questions that you may have following when it's on the agenda. General location, I think we're all familiar with this site. It's a very large site in the city on Valley Road in Concord and the Oconomowoc Parkway, and it's currently all vacant land. The surrounding land uses are mostly residential or vacant. There is the Oconomowoc School directly to the south of the subject property. The subject property does have some wetlands, anywhere from a third to a half of the site would be considered wetlands, but they are developing only the upland areas as seen in, there's two main sections. This is the eastern and then the western area. There's some pockets of wetlands in there as well. The existing zoning is SR, suburban residential, so you're asking what is the rezoning for? It is to maintain the SR zoning as the underlying district. They'd like to do a PD overlay, that stands for Planned Development. Originally, the request went out, was to change it to a TR, but they're asking to maintain that existing suburban residential overlay, which is very consistent with all of the other zonings around, but they would like to create a PD overlay. Why a PD? They would then give some flexibility with design standards. The comprehensive plan identifies it as suburban residential, which allows up to 3 dwelling units per acre. So the zoning would be consistent with the land use plan. They're showing 299 dwelling units, which is about 1.1 dwellings per acre. They consist of 239 single-family homes and then 30 twin homes, which would be 60 units. The twin homes are shown in the purple area on the west side. There was a settlement agreement with the owner of the property from February of 2019. This did allow up to 285 lots with some lot layout flexibility. So several of the council members were here in February of 2019. There's planned development exemptions being requested. The front yard setback would be changed, the lot width would be changed, the side yard setback would be reduced, and they're asking to remove the sidewalk requirement from cul-de-sacs. So the lot width is typically 70 feet. They'd like to go down to 56 feet for the regular lots and 45 feet for the twins. The front yard, they're asking to go from 25 to 20, but only on corner lots. The reduced side yard is from 10 feet to 7 feet, and then there'd be a 0 lot line for the twin homes because those would be right on the lot line, and then the sidewalks. Several staff went out to the and an official went out to several developments in the Madison area. We looked at some of the other products by Viridian Homes. I have some slides that I can just share with you quickly here. This is some of their products in their neighborhoods that have recently been constructed. These side yard setbacks might be even closer than the 7 feet that's being proposed. These may have less than 7 foot side yards. So ours would be a little bit more. These are all the front entry garages, not the rear alleys that a lot of their products are. Some examples of their homes. I was concerned about the driveway width, but again, we are maintaining a 25-foot setback with 20 feet on a side yard. So that shouldn't be a problem here. Also, the Haven is their twin home models. This is what they would be looking like. Again, they're not utilizing any alleys. Everything would be front-loaded garages. So this is what their twin homes would look like. The lot line would go right down the center of the garage area there. So we had some concerns raised by the public during the Plan Commission public hearing. Traffic development will increase the traffic on the adjacent streets. Yes, it will. They did provide a traffic study, and it does say that the level of service is not going to be affected. The roads out there can handle this traffic. Would it be better if Oconomowoc Parkway would be, continued through to take on some of the traffic? Yes, it would be better. Their traffic study says, but it's not needed at this time. Groundwater, we heard there's high groundwater in the area. They did do some soil borings out there, and they actually did a grid over the entire area. They'll be able to explain that. The school, will it bring additional school children to the district? It will, but the school district has provided a statement that I have with me, talks about they are experiencing declining enrollment, and this will actually level off some of the enrollment decreases they're experiencing. Flooding will hard surface, the additional hard surface create flooding in the area. No water will leave the site more than what it does today. The Oconomowoc River, will it be impacted? They're maintaining a big buffer between the lots and the river. And nature, we heard a lot about nature, loss of animals there's lots of animals on the existing property. They are maintaining anywhere from a third to a half of the area as open space in perpetuity. So where do we go? The Plan Commission did recommend the hearing. They held a hearing and they recommended the zoning back on July 7th. This is the second public hearing we're having tonight. After tonight, if this is acted on favorably, there would be a civil plan review done by staff, then a preliminary plat would come back to you, a developer's agreement, and a final plat, all reviewed and approved by the city. Staff does support the rezoning to the planned development application. The land use plan shows this as residential. I recommend the ordinance to create the planned development overlay for Arrowwood subdivision this evening, and I'll be available to answer any questions.
If we'd like to have the applicant give their presentation and then open it to questions, and then we'll open the public hearing. Is this Mr. Ehlers? I have 3 cards from a Chris Ehlers, a Grant Ducac, and a Brian Munson, so I'm assuming that'll be accomplished in your presentation.
Yeah, in an effort to speed things along, we'll present jointly here.
Thank you.
To keep things going. So again, thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us tonight. We're very excited to be here. I am Chris Ehlers with Viridian Homes, and with me tonight is longtime planner and engineer, and then our operations VP from the Milwaukee area here, Matt, Brian, and Grant. So with that being said, who is Viridian? I'm going to start with that, but I will end again with just kind of addressing the big 3 comments that we took away from Plan Commission. That was the concerns about traffic, drainage, and school. And we'll end with that because we were able to compile some data between then and now, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Who is Viridian? We have a mission statement. We build great homes by never losing sight of what is important: the customers, the employees, and the communities, and the environment in which we live. We've been building master plan communities for 30 years, and it's not only in the communities are we developing the land, but we also build all of the houses. We're unique in that we're a developer builder. We develop the land, we don't sell any of the lots, we don't sell off the land, we build every house on every lot. Because of that, we can control the price point and the aesthetics of what is built in our communities, and we can diversify the portfolio and talk about what projected sales prices will be with you tonight. Just our customer satisfaction scores, we always take surveys 30 days and 11 months after the home closing process. We average in the 95% range. We have a 4.7 star rating currently on Google reviews, which is always tough to deal with on the internet. And if we do get a bad review, we have a team of customer service reps that jump in and ask and follow up with what the issue was. As part of our community outreach, we work with communities that we develop in. This was just done in Wanakee. We just built, we called it the General Home. It was a $1.2 million house, which we do offer in our portfolio. And we've got our contractors to donate their time, and we donated our proceeds to donate $1.2 million to different charities within the area. So Arrowwood, how did we get here tonight? Well, we started this process a long time ago. We actually started in January, and it started with this. And this is, it was very well done. It's a housing affordability study that was done by Oconomowoc, and it told us the target price point or the missing middle that needs to be addressed here in Oconomowoc. And from it, as you can see, it says, with the 20% down payment, including monthly taxes and homeowner insurance, the house that's needed, it would be $396,500. Well, What we're projecting within this development will start below that. We'll start in the 350s, but it will also go all the way up to potentially $1 million plus. This is an economically diverse development. It's a type of development we've recently brought forth in the last 5 years. It's become very popular of mixing different levels of house type within the same community instead of what's commonly been done before, which is clusters of the same type of housing, same price point, all in one area and segregated throughout the development.
Again, Brian Munson with Vanderwall and Associates, and in addition to the affordability report, we went back and did the homework on what all the other plans recommend for this site. And from there, we worked to incorporate the recommendations from the comprehensive plan, the River West Neighborhood Plan, and the zoning plan. We also reached out to staff and had good conversations. That really was what led to the change in the request, is a reflection of input from staff. And we're wanting to work with them to tailor the request to match the proposal. And so we appreciated the good input that we've received in working closely with staff as we've moved through this process and made changes to the plan and made changes to the request throughout the process to come to us tonight. As Chris said, we're really interested in developing a neighborhood that appeals to many different buyer profiles, because a community really is just that, many different people at different points in their life, whether that be first-time home buyers, move-up or luxury buyers interested in single-family homes, but then also active adults that may be interested in downsizing. And so when we developed the pattern of lots within the neighborhood, we wanted to make sure that there are housing choices available within the neighborhood that work together. Now, the strength of the application being developer builder, Veridian is then in a unique position to be able to make sure that that happens carried forward, and that they will control price points through the construction of the houses, but also control really important components such as the architecture, so that there are standards that will guide the implementation of the project throughout and create a framework where different price points can coexist harmoniously throughout the neighborhood, but still create a character within the neighborhood that's supportive of the residents.
The original plan and what you see forward tonight, it really does mirror what was presented a number of years ago by the Seatman family. We kept the road alignment the same. The biggest difference being that we actually adjusted the lot sizes. You can see the different colors are different lot sizes. We wanted a variety of housing. We didn't want all the same lots and same house going up and down the street. We also, it was talked about the exemption for the 56 wide lot. That is the dark orange or just 51 total that you'll see before you. The original plan was for 14 fewer home sites, but that was based on the sewer capacity. We did discover that there is capacity for 14 houses there that's shown on this exhibit, and we would pay impact fees to tie into what is existing sewer as it stands today. Real quick, the color chart that you see in front of you, the orange being the entry to mid-level houses, the yellow being the luxury move-up houses, and the purple being the downsizer twin product. Again, this is all for sale housing, no rental housing, and it will be managed by strict HOA guidelines that we require to be professionally managed once Veridian is done and complete with this development. This will be a 10-year development, and when we are done, we put it in our bylaws that whoever takes over the HOA must hire a professional management company to make sure that that funding stays in place and the neighborhood is well maintained for into the future. Real quickly, the house types. This is an example of our terrace house. This will be 2,000 to 4,000 square feet, geared more towards that entry-level buyer. Next up, we have the manors, getting a little bigger, 2,500 to about 4,000 square feet, some entry level to move up buyer. Then we get into the estate. Now we're pushing 3,500 to 5,000 square feet. These can also be 3-car garage. And then our luxury, which is super estate, can get up to 5,000 square feet plus, 3-car garage and bigger yard. Finally, we have the Haven product. This is something that's become very popular in Dane County and Menominee areas. This is a fee simple, downsizer targeted, age-restricted product that's geared really towards 50 and older. We offer amenity packages through the HOA, so all of the exterior maintenance is taken care of from the HOA, which includes snow removal, lawn maintenance, flower grooming or planting and bedding, as well as they'll come into your house twice a year to replace air filters, rock salt, and anything else. This is really popular with families whose kids have gone off to school, and they're looking to sell their house and get into something that's condo living, but it doesn't have the condo fees or the condo label. We have to go with a twin or a fee simple label on this. Just for lending purposes, it's a little easier for buyers to get financing if you don't have the condo label attached to it.
What were the prices on those? What did you say?
These, we're targeting probably high threes to mid fours out here for each side. Fee simple, each side. One, if you look at the floor plan, one side is larger than the area. We popped the garage out, so there is kind of an upgrade style to this. The way we sell these is the first person in gets to customize their side, and the other side is built with it, but left empty at drywall, and then that person can come in and pick out their amenities and upgrades at that point.
Ellis?
Yeah, do these, can you go back to?
Yep, sorry.
I love these houses, by the way. Do these houses have basements?
Yes, yes, every house will have a basement. That's another upgrade option. People can finish out the basements in these, and we've seen them get pretty creative with what they do. Everything from bedrooms for the grandkids to golf simulators down there, so, yes.
Yes, we'll continue with the presentation, and then we'll have you available afterwards as well for questions from council.
Okay, sounds good. Continuing on, here's our phasing plan. Again, this is not going to happen overnight, as we all know. This is quite a few houses that needs to be built and also improvement work that needs to be done. Our goal is to get started with development as quickly as possible, maybe even putting in some utilities yet this year. But really, there won't be any closings or people living out here for the foreseeable future, probably 2 years out. At that point, we consider this a 10-year project, with each phase taking about a year to 2 years. And this is how our initial phase is taking us today, based on product mix and utility availability. Parks and open space?
Yeah, just to speak a little bit to some of the park and open space components and to touch on some of the comments from the Plan Commission. Again, this builds off of the plans that were previously discussed for the site, both for preservation of some of the open space as well as some of the central open park spaces within the project. It also works to incorporate a strong network of trails, and some could be gravel, some could be paved through the neighborhood. A couple key things that we absolutely agreed to, one was providing access over the Mud Lake. The school district raised that, and we support that. We also support extension of a bike ped trail along the frontage along Valley Road so that connection can be made. And then we're willing to explore the possibility of a connection, a gravel and boardwalk connection to the north over to the Lake County Trail. So that's something that would take some partnership with the community and the state from permitting, but something that we think would be a great connection as well. So we are going to pursue all of those components within the neighborhood, in addition to, as was stated at the Plan Commission, sidewalks on both sides of all the streets, with the one exception being the cul-de-sac frontages, and then additional trail connections interspersed throughout the neighborhood to give opportunities for residents to move through the neighborhood, as well as residents of adjoining neighborhoods to travel through the neighborhood in open space corridors within the project. You can see here, again, if I get some of those components, a connection along Conomowoc Parkway and Valley Road to the southwest, and a regional trail connection that can go through a section where there would be some wetland crossings. There's actually an upland area back here that is wooded that wouldn't require a wetland crossing the entire way, but then another short connection to get to the east where there's existing trails that connect over to the Lake County Trail. Stormwater management is another component that was raised at the Plan Commission, something we take very careful attention to. And we see stormwater management as more than just where does the water go, but how is it treated? How is it part of the amenity package for the neighborhood? You can see here from Smith's Crossing, the idea that stormwater basins don't have to be riprap and square boxes, but rather can be designed in a more natural vegetative state, and that's something we would pursue here. But to go a little bit further into the investigations, we're very cognizant of every site of some very key components. First and foremost being, where's the water going and what water is there? We've taken 32 pits already. We're taking an additional 21 for 53 different points within this subdivision where we have done test borings to understand both the soil conditions, but also the groundwater conditions. We have done engineered studies that show that the proposed development grades are more than 10 feet above the observed groundwater elevations, and that the minimum elevations of the basements will be more than 2 feet above that point as well. This is something we've worked through on other sites, and are very confident that we can design, from an engineering sense, a solution that keeps dry basements. We don't want residents to have that any more than the residents do. I would also note that in many areas, the test pits did not encounter groundwater. So groundwater is not a uniform plane when you look at a site. There's variations on a site in elevation as well as water flow underground, but we don't take that from a sense of just guessing. We take that from a sense of analyzing it scientifically. The other component of the stormwater management is this is building off a previously approved plan from 2006. In fact, if you went out there today, many of the areas that look like natural depressions are actually stormwater management basins that were constructed for the previous approvals. We'll be building off of that and improving them and bringing them to today's standards. The water generally moves to the north on this site, but will all be treated through a system of engineered stormwater management ponds and basins throughout the site and brought up to current conditions. In a sense, the simplest way to say it is post-development runoff on this site will be less than pre-development runoff. Not only that, but it will all be treated. It will go through a filtration and infiltration system such that in the past, when it was a farm field and ran directly to the wetlands, all of that will be captured. All of that will go to a managed stormwater system and will be treated prior to release, but the amount that comes off will be less than it is currently.
The next item that came up again, it was just the traffic, and we recognize that there is a huge concern, especially on Valley Road and Oconomowoc Parkway, and we're trying to do what we can to help the situation. From Plan Commission today, my first intention was just to run an initial traffic study, which I believe was just passed along, but that was just to kind of set the boundaries of how much actual traffic will we generate and what is the time period for that traffic. There's a lot of comments or quantities being thrown out of potential traffic variations that would be generated from this development, and I just wanted to kind of encapsulate that. What are the actual quantities of traffic spread out over the next 10 years? And also, will they be happening at peak times, which often happens with families who have school-age children, or off-peak times, which is more of the Haven product or the downsizer houses that we have in the Haven style. So what this does is just kind of talked about how much traffic we generate, and then also which direction. Is everybody going to go down and use Valley to go to Milwaukee, or are they going to go the other way and use it to go to Madison? You know, the initial findings are, yes, there will be more traffic that is generated, but it's something that we recognize and want to help support a conversation or get the groups together, including the county reps and local officials, to talk about the connection of Oconomowoc Parkway. Finally, the school district, just showing you in front of you what we have here is just an email, again, coming back from the school district. There was a little bit of concern that there's going to be an influx of school-age children, and I again wanted to just tell people that this is a multi-year development. Not everybody's moving in at once. There aren't a bunch of kids that are going to show up tomorrow. One sentence that I thought was good, this is an email that came back from the interim superintendent, and she said that because of the phasing in the development and the mixed types of housing, the school district is not highly concerned with the impact of enrollment or school capacity. Again, different types of housing for different people who are at different points in their lives. Some will have young kids, some will have middle school age kids, and some will have no kids because they're moving into the downsizer housing. Finally, experience counts. We're consistent with the zoning. We've met several goals of the comprehensive plan. Again, we've been building communities for over 30 years. We're very excited to be here. We recognize there's some concerns, and we're willing to jump in and help and assist, you know, where we can to help get some of these you know, issues that are standing out there resolved. So with that, we'll take any questions or welcome any feedback here tonight.
Yeah, we're going to hold off questions until we come back to council, and we'll move forward to open the public session.
Okay.
So if anybody has a question, just make a note, and we'll definitely come back. So at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for the Arrowwood subdivision rezoning project. And thank you all for bringing your cards. So please, when you come to the podium, please state your name, your address, and where you live. And you'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. What we're trying to do is stay on point. During this whole process, Mr. Gallo will also be taking some notes, and he'll recap a lot of those comments. This is a one-way discussion. It's your opportunity as a community to share your thoughts and viewpoints here with all the council folks. So we're going to start with Alan Wisher. Thank you, Ed. Do we have Alan here? Okay, we'll move on. Meredith Dressel.
Hello, I live at 37732 Valley Road in the town of Summit. I'm here to talk today about the traffic on Valley Road. We have lived here for 13 years and have shared our concerns about the increasing traffic due to the continuous developments by the city of Oconomowoc. This is not only from the developments west of Silver Lake Street going towards Highway 67, but also from Paps Farms going to Silver Lake Intermediate School. I did my own traffic count today for 2 hours on Valley Road before this meeting. From 3 to 4 o'clock today, there was 587 cars that went past my house. From 4:30 to 5:30, there were 668. A visual. This is what we have to deal with, trying to back out of our driveway, cross the road to our property that we pay taxes on the other side of the street, or even getting our mail. This is a great safety concern. Adding 350 homes to the west is only going to make this problem worse. A full comprehensive traffic study needs to be done, because obviously the numbers are up there. 5,500 is not correct when I had almost 1,300 in 2 hours right before this meeting. And along with finishing the parkway, this needs to be done for these continuous developments to be made feasible and for the safety of everyone concerned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a first name again, please? I'm sorry.
Meredith.
Meredith.
Scott Dressel.
Scott Russell, 37732 Valley Road. I addressed, what was that, last week, is the concern with the traffic on Valley Road. Obviously, my wife did that study, which it is amazing. You know, that breaks down to, and all of you guys, I know you've driven Valley Road, you know, between Dousman and Silver Lake Street. It is, you know, it was identified by the county about 1.5 years ago that it didn't meet the standard of a county highway because of sight lines and speed and the pedestrian traffic across. If you guys are familiar with that, that's our lake property across the road. And at certain times during the day, you know, we didn't even take that study when you start talking about Sundays when church lets out, you know, during school hours. I mean, you are talking in excess of 8,000 cars a day, okay? Try getting out of your driveway. It is a car, with the counts that we did today, it is a car, like I said, there is not 1 second that I can't see a car in front of my house. Now, the studies were off. I've been, you know, going down this road for many years with regards to getting that parkway completed, and you guys keep passing and developing, and really what you're doing is you're shoving your development and your traffic into your neighboring communities. I don't think that's fair, and we need to do something about it before somebody gets hurt. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Schubert.
My name is Katie Schubert, and I live at 838 Tamarack Lane in Sun Prairie. I was asked to speak on behalf of Viridian Homes. My husband Adam and I built our first home last winter. Not only was it our first time building a house, but buying one as well. When we started, we knew what we were looking for and the style of house we liked. So the bigger questions for us were who and where. And eventually we decided Viridian Homes and Sun Prairie. I could talk for days about our experience with Veridian. And trust me, I do that with just about anyone who will listen. I won't do that today. But it really is one of my favorite conversations to have. The building process wasn't anything like what we've heard it could be. It wasn't stressful, we didn't miss our deadlines, and we didn't blow our budget. Every person we worked with was professional, helpful, and made our experience truly exceptional from start to finish. We enjoyed the process, and we owe that all to the Veridian team. But one thing that makes our experience, in our opinion, truly special is our neighborhood. Adam and I actually looked in the Lake Country area before settling on Sun Prairie. And even as two professionals with a decent budget, there was just no way it would work for us. But when we pulled into the Meadow Crossing neighborhood in Sun Prairie, a sense of relief came. Right away, we saw a few things. Beautiful homes on modest but well-maintained lots, neighbors in their yards chatting, and children playing together. We felt right at home and knew this was the one for us. And when I say the one, I mean we literally purchased the very last lot available at that time. We've now lived in our home for 5 months, and in that short amount of time in our neighborhood, we've had block parties, birthday parties, and spent holidays together. We have made true friendships with the people on our street. We've had friends of ours visit, some whom are lucky enough to have recently built near $1 million homes on larger, more private lots. But once they see our home and our neighborhood, they have all told us the same thing, and I quote, "I wish we lived in a neighborhood like yours." There's a sense of community and togetherness in the neighborhoods that Veridian builds. The lots might be a bit smaller and the houses a little bit closer, but for a couple like us building their first home, or a family with young children that love riding their bikes with the next-door neighbors every day, it's perfect. We love our Veridian home and our neighborhood and think the families of Oconomowoc would feel the same. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Eric Prince.
Hi, Eric Prince, 37726 Valley Road in the Village of Summit. I'm here to express my concerns about the lack of traffic infrastructure improvements to support the increased development on the southwest side of Oconomowoc. So the Arrowwood development, Morgan Station, everything that's been going up there the last few years. Obviously, traffic is the #1 issue from the neighboring comments. It's the first on every list that comes up there. I took a look on Google's aerial view. This development looks like it's twice the size of Hickory Creek and 3 times the size of the combined Lake Ridge and Lake Ridge West subdivisions. The lot widths of 56 feet and 45 feet are smaller than downtown Oconomowoc lots, which are between 50 and 60 feet wide. So think about the traffic volume that we're bringing to the area. The planned development overlay on tonight's agenda is all about enabling lot sizes that are smaller than most downtown lots to allow for cramming a lot more houses into a small area. I understand that maybe needs to be done for financial reasons to make enough money on the development, but the traffic volume cannot be ignored. The traffic volume that comes with that cannot be ignored. The majority of the east-west traffic for this development ultimately ends up on Valley Road, which is the only reasonable east-west road between the Highway 67, I-94 area and this portion of the city. Valley Road is absolutely not designed to handle this type of traffic volume. It's a twisting, curving road with hills, blind spots, public boat launch that's literally on the side of the road with the parking across the road. Taking action to actively increase the number of homes beyond what is allowed per the current zoning in this area without addressing surrounding traffic infrastructure into and out of the area is just not responsible. Just last week, literally last week, Valley Road was closed due to an emergency response on the road. Throwing more traffic on the road obviously will increase the likelihood of this happening in the future. Consider an emergency situation, not necessarily in the new development. This affects everyone living around there. How is emergency traffic going to get through a congested or worst case closed Valley Road? It's not a good situation to be in. Couple that with rush hour traffic and a backed up intersection at Valley Road and Silver Lake Street, and it's a recipe for disaster. The line about traffic in the agenda packet tonight suggests that because the parkway is designed to handle semi-trucks, the traffic issues are resolved. Well, the parkway dead ends on both sides, and the fact that it can handle a semi-truck has nothing to do with emergency response times or traffic safety on the roads it dead ends into, one of them being Valley Road. So now is the right time to initiate the process of completing the parkway. I would say I really appreciate the developer, extending an offer to help get the communities together to make this happen. It's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. It'll bring a lot of other benefits in addition to addressing the safety issues on Valley Road. Reduce traffic congestion on Valley Road and Silver Lake, or at that intersection. Improve access to Highway 67, including the new Olympia Fields development. That development's right between Thackeray Trail and the Parkway. Thackeray Trail is obviously about to have a huge influx of traffic volume thrown onto it, so this will help to balance out that increased traffic volume. It'll also reduce traffic volume cutting through the Vespera condos on St. Andrews Drive. That traffic crosses the bike path, which is yet another safety concern due to the increased traffic volume from this development.
I'm going to have you wrap up, please.
Yep, yeah, that's it. So there's many, reasons and benefits to complete the Parkway. Let's take the developer up on his offer to get people together and make it happen. Thanks.
Thank you. John Slatinsky?
My name is John Slatinsky, and I lived on Valley Road for 26 years. And the traffic on Valley Road is terrible. You guys have been building subdivisions north of Valley Road and along Silver Lake Street on both sides, and doing nothing about the traffic volume that we have going through. Now, that Oconomowoc Parkway was put in by, as I understand it, by a developer, and they stopped at the golf course. Now, there's only one street that goes north and south out of Oconomowoc to Valley Road, which goes east and west. You have all these subdivisions that were put in since I've been here, and they all use Valley Road, and people in Oconomowoc do not go north to Summit Road and 67 South to get to Aldi's. They come down Silver Lake Street to Valley Road. And Valley Road right now has semi-trucks going on it. They have cement trucks, and they have a big variety of other building trucks going down the road. That road is breaking up. And now people are coming here, and they want to put a subdivision with 50 houses on there. Each house has 2 cars. And then another subdivision is going to go up with 300 houses, and each house is going to have 2 cars. And now, listening to these guys, some of them are going to have 3-car garages. We're going to have 700 cars in the morning and in the evening going down Valley Road. What are you guys going to do about Oconomowoc Parkway? There's nothing between the end of Oconomowoc Parkway and Silver Lake Street. It's all flat. It's all flat in there. It's easy building. The only thing you'd have to do, you got to tell the golf course people to build another green, and then another thing that nobody said anything about, when you got Silver Lake Street traffic and you're going to have Oconomowoc Parkway traffic, you're not going to put a stop sign in there. You're not going to put a stoplight. That's going to be cars piled. Right now, at times, there's cars piled up from Valley Road all the way past the bike path.
I'm going to have you wrap up, please.
No, you have to put a roundabout to take care of all that traffic. These guys, all this traffic that's going to be coming from the west is going to go down Valley Road. You got to do something about it, and you can't put it off anymore. All 20 years that Oconomowoc Parkway was their dead end, and there's nobody uses that thing. A half a dozen people, and the other section going from Silver Lake Street west, there's only a couple of big condo buildings there, and a half a dozen people use that. It's a disgrace that you guys don't do anything about the traffic on Valley Road.
Thank you. Next up, Dave
Yeah.
Zimmerman.
Good evening, I'm Dave Zimmerman, 35831 Hewitt's Point Road in the village of Oconomowoc Lake. I'm here to talk about traffic, as the previous speakers have already so well expressed. I'm not going to beleaguer their comments. You've heard them, I agree 100%. I was going to say everything that's already been said as a matter of fact, so we'll leave it at that. But yes, there's a tremendous amount of traffic coming down Valley Road already. And it's only going to get worse and worse and worse with continued development in the southwest corner. I have, for the last 8 years, been the county supervisor for District 2. District 2 includes the village of Summit, the town of Oconomowoc, the village of Lac La Belle, village of Oconomowoc Lake, and the village of Shaniqua. Previous to that, for 4 years, I was a Summit Village trustee. That's 12 years. And for 12 years, these have been my constituents in one elected form or another, and for 12 years, I have heard a lot of comments and telephone calls and emails and discussions about what are we going to do about Valley Road and Oconomowoc Parkway. I've had many meetings with the county, with the city, with the village, with the county and the city, with the city and the village, and we've really gotten nowhere, although I understand some reasons for that, funding, finishing Thackeray Trail, et cetera. So I get that. But we can't put this off anymore because there's simply no way we can send more traffic down Valley Road. It's the only east-west corridor. Here we have Oconomowoc Parkway. I think we really need to finish. It's a big, wide, beautiful, straight road, 2 lanes on each side. What was that ever built for in the first place then? Certainly not for what it's doing right now. That would have been a boondoggle, a waste of taxpayer money. It was always intended to go through. It was always on the master plan. There's no better time than to get it done now. Speaking to traffic studies that may indicate current conditions can handle additional traffic, I would say, I would call those into question because I simply can't believe it, and I would implore the council to look very deeply at these traffic studies, because if these traffic studies are being done behind a desk by someone who's a traffic engineer and not in the field, they will never understand the conditions of Valley Road, which is narrow, windy, hilly, no shoulder, high residential density, a lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of recreational traffic, a lot of biking traffic, 2 businesses, a boat launch. It's horrible. It is a major safety concern. And I say this not only as a representative of my constituents, but I lived for 4 years just off of Valley Road on Silver Circle. I experienced it myself. That was 12 years ago. It was terrifying crossing the road with my children. That was 12 years ago. And it's only gotten worse, and it's only going to get worse the more that we continue sending traffic down Valley Road.
If you could wrap up, please.
I will, yes. So again, Oconomowoc Parkway was built to carry traffic. I implore you to lead the way in responsible urban planning, take this into account, and finish Oconomowoc Parkway. Thank you.
Thank you. Pete Holmes, please.
Good evening, Pete Holmes, 237 Shore Circle, City of Oconomowoc, immediately adjacent to Arrowwood. A lot of good comments here tonight, especially about the traffic, and I'm certainly going to hit on it from a different avenue. First of all, 299 home sites is too many homes for that. Arrowwood was primarily designed for 143. You ought to stick to something like 143. Maureen Stapleton still owns property along there. She'll want to put 60 or 70 homes along there as well. You've got the Morgan stuff. That's just not where it's going to end with 299 homes. As Jason kind of mentioned during this evening and as well as the last meeting of the Planning Commission, the traffic is not adequately being met by the roads we have currently. Highway 67 has become a funnel for traffic. 2 lanes from Interstate 94 to 4 lanes to 5 lanes on Highway 67 to limited 2 lanes on Valley, turning into 1 lane west of Dousman Road. My gosh, the amount of traffic we're putting off the expressway, onto 67 and then down to a 2-lane road is immense. Here's my opinion. There are those of you completing the parkway through the golf course is going to alleviate that traffic, and I offer you this other alternative. It should be noted that the automobile crashes at Highway 67 in Valley and Highway 67 and Oconomowoc Road have been significant and severe. I think the chief could probably speak to those 45-mile-an-hour crashes when people are just going to make that one more late, just going to make that one more late. I think the broader answer is to start moving some of that traffic off of 67 and develop an off-ramp at Golden Lake Road, very similar to the one at Willow Glen. We're going to put a westbound off-ramp only at Golden Lake. We're going to make an eastbound on-ramp only at Golden Lake. That will allow another 5 miles or so to take traffic off of 67. Alderman Ellis is currently working with a plan right now to try and get an underpass hole dug so people can cross under Highway 67, and he attests to the fact that it's too dangerous for pedestrians. We can't put cars down there doing the same thing. There's only one home that has to be moved or purchased at that area. There's no other homes that are really going to be impacted by it. It's 1 mile from that particular off-ramp to be developed to the subdivision. Very nice. 45 miles an hour going through there, or 35, I forget what the speed limit is. But you got to take traffic off of 67. Really think about that. I don't know if you're going to get people to go down to 67 and down to Oconomowoc Parkway and then turn left. I just don't know if they're going to want to do that. People want to do things by convenience. Again, I'll get right back to where the folks on Valley Road, they've certainly got a complaint and a concern. I've built my home there 15 years ago, and I can see the traffic increasing. So I don't want to abbreviate the subject, but my final statement is this. Highway 67 cannot handle the additional traffic. We really need to start thinking about, much like Willow Glen, an off-ramp that goes westbound off-ramp, eastbound on-ramp, and people can get on and go to work, and they can get off and go home. That's, I think, is a real plan that needs to be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Halverson.
I'm Tom Halverson. I live on 557 West Valley Road, Oconomowoc. I lived in my property for over 30 years. When they built the school across the street from me, they built it in a swamp. When this swamp created all the water to come to my house. I had water problems my whole life. I had water in my basement 45 inches, 54 inches in my basement. I had to take my furnace and hang it from the ceiling in my hot water heater. Finally, guess what? I had 4 sump pumps in my basement going 24 hours a day. I had $300-400 a month electric bills just from that school. Now this is going to start me all over again. In wet weather, the groundwater by me is really high. My well is 36 feet deep, and the barn well is 32 feet. My land is 886 feet above sea level. I yelled at every department, got madder and madder, and finally FEMA came in along and helped me out. They came to my house in Yagi, Colby, put a system in the ground there, a pipe, and checked my water. My groundwater was 18 inches down water. And they finally gave me a grant, FEMA, and they said that it would come and fix it. They appraised my house at 0. My land at $119,000. Property in the floodplain and high groundwater would have to raise my new house out of the ground. Now this developer over here, this is what FEMA said to me. I had to put my house 7 feet above ground. I've got a basement 4 feet in the ground. I still get water. Now what you're going to do, if you put all them houses out there, you know what's going to happen to me? I'm going to drown again. What is FEMA going to do to you? They're going to sue you then. They got hundreds of thousands of dollars. They put septic in me. They put groundwater. They put everything in my house. Wells, septic, everything I got there. They're going to be mad if I flood again. I bet they stuck $300,000-400,000 in my house and plus built my house. We're sitting in water here, all of us. Now, the developer, what they should do, they should make those houses built as high as mine on. Because if you look in Waukesha County, this is what FEMA said you have to go. 7 feet above groundwater and 4 feet in the basement. And my basement's 10 foot deep, up and down. Now, if this fails and I drowned again, who's going to pay for me? Who's going to pay for my land? Who's going to pay? Zero. It's going to be worth nothing. I've been battling this for 30-some years. You guys got to stop this development. This is terrible. I mean, over 3,000 cars a day go by my house. There are going to be 4,000 or 5,000 when you put that dang thing in. At one time, they're going to block off Highway B. That never happened. They were going to block it off and say nobody could go down Highway B anymore. Your subdivision you're putting in is going to come right. Everybody's going down Valley Road. Everybody. It was designed a long time ago to go down to DR. Nobody goes down DR Road. It's a 4-lane highway. Nobody goes there.
If you can wrap up, please.
Yes. Now, I just want you to have to do the rules and regulations I had when I built my house. I want the city to really, really check this and make it first. It's 100%. Nothing will happen to my house, any of the houses around there, because the groundwater is shallow. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment with regard to the Airwood subdivision rezoning? When you come, would you please list your name, address, and the city, county, or, excuse me, city, town, or village you live in, please?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I will. Just so everybody realizes, we are not required to give that. When we come up here, we can present our card, and people can do an open records request through the city to obtain that information.
I
But I'm
don't
happy
have
to
your
oblige.
card. I don't have your card?
It's here.
Okay, that's fine. Could I have your card, please? We'll wait one moment.
I will be happy to oblige. My name is Jane Owen. I'm born and raised in Oconomowoc. My family's been here since at least 1869. So a little background history. In 2018, we started having water problems because of the developments. We're downriver. It's just going to make it worse. Came halfway up the backyard. We can't sustain another 300 families here. We heard this at the meeting on July 7th. Both environmentally, water, the roads, the brining, the snow service, I can't call it full snow removal, the schools. This is the first graduation class of the high school, then it's been bigger than what it's been since about 1980. So maybe it's going to decline, maybe it's going to go up. As I brought up, school district's about $80 million in debt. We have the lowest college entrance exam in the county for being $80 million in debt when they pushed the referendum through. City's about $20 million in debt. We've already pawned off our children and our grandchildren, so $100 million for the city of Oconomowoc. For streets, they want to plug in, I believe it was about an extra $300,000 a year in the budget for the next 10 years because we can't maintain the level of our streets. On top of a blooming HR payroll, having trouble maintaining water quality. Critters are getting worse. Unofficial traffic study counts from the speed board last fall on Concord Road. I don't have it in writing yet. Southbound and northbound. This would be about the 400 and 500 blocks since Concord Road does a dogleg and a jig, perpendicular, diagonal, whatever, to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th Street. Average speed southbound, 26.6 miles an hour between Rhodey Florist and the bridge. Oh, wait a second. You got your phone? Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, if you can do your best to focus on the Airwood subdivision, we'd appreciate it.
People go speeding through already, uncontrolled. Jump the curb, jump the snowpack, jump your front yard, and jump your tree. 88% of the people are already driving 21 to 30 in a 25. Traffic between 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. is over 1,000 cars. At 5 a.m., 200, 6 a.m., 500, 7 a.m., 900, 8 a.m., I believe that's 980, goes back down a little bit, increases again at 11 a.m. to over 1,000 cars an hour. Northbound, average speed, going into that curve right in front of Rhodey Florist, going into a curve, 23.9 miles an hour, directly in front of Rhodey Florist. I hope you've got the Batman car and the Tesla and the Ferrari to be doing that. There's developmentally disabled in that neighborhood. People walk their dogs everywhere. You've got little kids going to school. Can't control the traffic or the speeds right now. Average 84.8% going 21 to 30. At 4 a.m., 181 cars. 5 a.m., 400 cars. 6 a.m., 730 cars. By 2 p.m., 1,000 cars. 3 p.m., 1,100
To
cars.
wrap it up, please.
It's a traffic problem. It's an environmental problem. Make your sidewalks just 4 feet wide. You don't have that many people walking the sidewalks. Cement and asphalt are severely toxic. Make your roads narrower so that we have better snow removal service, don't need as much brine.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other comments for public hearing on the Arrowwood subdivision rezoning?
Excuse me, sir, it's freedom of speech.
You have a time limit. We've
It's
set
a
the ground
request.
Up to you. You're running the show.
Do you want to give us a very brief closing statement?
Yes, give me
Or would
one
you like
moment
to sit down?
to gather that. The final closing statement, this subdivision's not sustainable. You can't walk to a grocery, downtown for shops, restaurants, services, city hall, schools. There's no public transit. You have to drive and burn more carbon. It doesn't fit the small town of Oconomowoc that you have all moved here for.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment for this public hearing on the Arrowwood subdivision rezoning project? If no further comment, then we're going to close this public hearing and move on to our next public hearing for the Olympia Fields development. Mr. Gallo.
Mayor? Is there any opportunity to talk to them before we move on to the next public comment?
They can stay for the.
They can stay for the whole thing, and then we can ask them, but
Okay.
at this point, no.
So we're gonna go through all public
All-
comment and
all
then
the
go back?
public
That's the way
comments, yeah.
it's agendized.
That's how we've set it up. Mr. Gallo.
Thank you. I just had to switch out the presentation. The next public hearing is for Olympia Fields. It is another rezoning to a planned development. It's a big area. That's the master plan on the screen. And what we're talking tonight is only this little area highlighted in red up here, okay? That's the only item that we're speaking of, is just this small area tucked back in the corner. The general location map is 1350 Royal Mile Road. It's also known as the former Olympia Hotel and Conference Center that's currently being raised. I think we all are familiar with where that is. This is a master plan of the area, kind of a two-dimensional overview, and this is really the only area of Phase 1 that we're talking about tonight, okay? There's another like 15 to 16 buildings that will come before you, but tonight it's only the apartments built out of Phase 1 up there. So they're asking to zone it, change it from the light brown right here in the black circle, which is RML, which is residential multi-unit low density, to this darker brown, which is residential multi-unit high. They need, this only allows up to 8 dwelling units per acre, and they're at about 9 units per acre. So they would like to change it. I've highlighted in circles other similar dark browns in the general area. So they need that to get the 152 dwelling units with a planned development. What that does is it locks in the site plan. 152 divided by the 15.37 acres is 9.8 dwelling units per acre versus the 8 dwelling units allowed under RML. Here is a site plan that shows the buildings. They would have 4 25-unit buildings and then 2 26-unit buildings. Here's a site plan that they colored up that kind of shows the way where the buildings would be located. This water feature to the north is not a lake. This is a detention pond determined by the DNR. That's why the buildings can get so close. There's also a clubhouse. So what the PD does is it really locks in the building number of units, the size of the units, the location of the units, etc. So the architectural plans were reviewed for the 25 and 26 unit buildings. These were approved by the Architectural Commission. If you recall, we have specific design guidelines for this area, and we worked very hard with them. We formed a checklist, and they met all the boxes for those. This is, I wanted to throw in the clubhouse. They are proposing a clubhouse area as well. So the plan development, again, it locks in the site plan with the development ordinance that's in your packets. It gives them flexibility from development standards. They're asking to waive setbacks, reduce some parking counts. In return, they are committed to redeveloping a blighted area, including a pond shoreline and cleaning up easements as well. So the Plan Commission held a public hearing and recommended the rezoning back on July 7th. They also recommended the land divisions that's on your agenda this evening, and they approved the site plans. There's second public hearing is tonight before the Common Council, and it's on the agenda for action. I'm available to answer any questions after the hearing is closed.
At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for the Olympia Fields development as referenced in our agenda. At this point, I do not have any blue cards. Is there anyone that would like to talk about this development? Mr. Maroney.
Sure. Matt Maroney, President, COO, OneGuard Partners. Just real brief, this is according to the plan that we've been talking about all along. Nothing has really changed from the very beginning when we started working with the City Council, over a year ago. So we just thank staff for all their comments. We've, with their comments, have improved the product that is being presented to you tonight and the zoning request. And this is a gigantic puzzle, as I've said all along, and we'll be back before you with more parts of the puzzle and an update on overall progress. I think in September we're scheduled for that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment for the public hearing? Does anyone have a blue card? Does anybody want to make a comment? So at this time, we'll close the public hearing for the Olympia Fields development. Move on to the public hearing for Jiffy Lube. Mr. Gallo.
Very brief overview. There's only 7 slides. This is a conditional use permit, so it's not a rezoning for Jiffy Lube. The location is 1610 Water Place. What is Water Place? That's that private roadway, private drive that you access Quick Trip, the new Bubbles Foam Farm car wash, and then it would be the next lot down. They submitted a site plan. I wanted just to briefly share this with you. This is a conditional use for an automotive service and repair. So with that, there's some standards that I'm going to just show you on the next slide. But before I do that, one of the standards is all the work has to be conducted inside the building. Well, they'll have 3 bays, and the work will be inside the building. They have to provide adequate parking, and I wanted to highlight that. So, those are some of the things that you're supposed to show that there's substantial evidence that they're going to be doing that. And I've tailored the conditional use permit to meet all of the standards. So this is what the building would look like for a Jiffy Lube. I think it's a pretty nice looking building. It was architecturally approved on July 7th by the Architectural Commission. The standards for vehicle service and repair, again, number 1 is all repair and service shall be within the building. They'll do that. No outside storage unless screened. They do have 1 dumpster corral that they'll be putting their trash in. Parking shall be only on designated stalls on paved areas. I showed you a site plan where there is some on-site parking available. Security cameras installed as required by the city police. Hours should only be between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m., and that's regulated in their conditional use permit. And then comply with all other city ordinances. So again, with a conditional use, with the new laws in place, the Common Council must determine that the applicant has shown substantial evidence that the use conforms to these standards. The Plan Commission did send a recommendation to approve the conditional use permit for Jiffy Lube at 1610 Water Place, per the CUP drafted by staff.
I'd like to open this public hearing. Do we have any comments with regard to this development for Jiffy Lube? I do not have any blue cards. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to talk about this item? Any public comment? I will move forward and close the public hearing on Jiffy Lube, and we'll move forward to Plan Commission items. The first item up, Mr. Gallo. Consider act on ordinance 21-01011 to create a planned development overlay district for Airwood subdivision located at the northwest corner of the Oconomowoc Parkway and Valley Road. First reading. Mr. Gallo.
Thank you again. This is the ordinance for the creation of the plan development overlay. It's a zoning ordinance. We did have a hearing at Plan Commission. We conducted a second hearing this evening. According to my notes, we had 9 speakers, other than the applicant themselves. Out of the 9, I believe only 2 were city residents. A lot of the concerns noted was, again, traffic was the #1 concern. There was some drainage issues with groundwater and some other miscellaneous comments. The Plan Commission did recommend this forward. Again, the underlying zoning is suburban residential, and they would like to change that to a PD overlay, and that gives some flexibility. The zoning ordinance allows for that. I detailed out the ordinance requirements on page 2. I talked about the adjacent uses. I talked about the consistency with the plan. I went through the findings with anytime you change the zoning map, there should be certain findings that are met. I think they've complied with all of that. The density is about 1.1 dwelling units per acre. With this, the ratio of single-family homes goes up because it's all single-family homes. And it is goes to 69.4% single-family, that includes, which includes condominiums ownership, and 30.6% duplexes. So we're well below that 60-40 split. We went through what they're asking for exemptions. I talked about, and then the public benefits was mentioned about the attainable housing. They looked at our housing study that's out there. You know, this is something that can go for first-time buyers to people that want to upsize to people that are downsizing. The mud lake access is a benefit. The environmental protection, protecting the wetlands, the trails and paths that were discussed, especially along Valley Road, which we asked them to extend that. So with the housing ratios, the land use, the utilities can handle this. The public benefits, as mentioned, I feel it is a good fit. As far as the main concerns, the traffic, the school, the city impacts, the water, I feel that the applicant has addressed those items, and they are here to answer any additional questions. I've got copies of the traffic study, of the groundwater reports, of the school emails from this superintendent.
So I'd like to open it up to council, ask questions. Let's first start with any questions you may have for Mr. Gallo. Alderman Kavieski.
Some of the things that I really like about what they're proposing is that they have looked at the comprehensive plan. They have taken a look at our housing life cycle and accommodated for that in this development. I believe some of those accommodations, in order to address that, are driving lot sizes to hit the attainable price points. One of the biggest things that I hear in our community from our business and surrounding area from our businesses is workforce. And in order to get more workforce that it's able to live here and service those businesses, they need a place to live. So the attainable level, greatly appreciated. And right now, the only way you can really do that is by shrinking the lot size. I think by right, they have the ability to build 285 homes here. So they're looking for the exception here is an additional 14 units for what you're looking to build.
They would have a right under our ordinance to build a lot more homes there.
Correct.
Because it's 3 per acre. And they're 1.1 per acre, whatever it is. But I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that.
I believe based on the agreement, though, that was in place, the number is 285. 299 is what's being requested, which is still below. Correct.
Right, our sewer capacity is 285 for this lot, and then they want to go above that to 299. These additional lots right in this corner can be served a different direction, so that's why they're going up a little bit for the additional 14 lots.
Alderman Ellis?
Okay, it's actually for you guys, so if you want to come up, that's fine.
Before we do that, are there any other questions for Jason? I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure we stay focused on Jason first.
I just wanted to conclude with thanking Jason for working with them, because I think without that interaction, you may not have ended up where you currently are. And I think that is in the community's best interest to be where we're at. I think those are benefits associated with this. I do have some concerns, and we'll get there next time around, but I wanted to start out with a positive since that was
Sounds good.
kind of driven toward Jason.
Other comments initially for Jason, and then we'll open it up to the developers? Okay, let's move on. Thank you. Alderman Ellis.
Okay, I love those pictures, I really do. I do have a couple of questions, and we do need development there. Understand that, I get that. At this point, in the surrounding area, there's only 18 inches before we hit water table, or at least this is a letter dated February 26 from Paul Farrow. And according to what he also says, that we need 8 feet to groundwater required for consideration. So my question here is, you had mentioned that these homes had basements. How's that going to happen? Can you help me here?
Sure. I'm just going to pull up a slide here briefly, just a second. Current slide. So again, we've done 53 boring and test pits on the site to determine where the groundwater is.
Okay.
Grant Ducock from Excel Engineering is here, could speak to the technical components of those. But the simple summary is the proposed development grades are going to be more than 10 feet above the groundwater that's been observed. So when we look at a site like this, the first thing we determine is where is the groundwater, and we can look at that through the soils as well as the observation through pits. But then we work through the design of the infrastructure, the lot grades, the grading through the entire neighborhood to make sure that we maintain a minimum clearance above that groundwater. And so it's something we've done. Actually, I think one of the sites they saw in Sun Prairie was Smith's Crossing, which had comparable conditions in terms of environmental corridors and wetlands adjacent to the development. And those were all designed to keep those basements up out of the groundwater. And we do similar techniques in the design of this. But really, it doesn't come at the zoning stage. It comes at the engineering stage, the preliminary plat, the final plat. And a couple of things that the benefit of working with Veridian is that they control all of that. Because they're not doing lot sales, they set grades for all the basements, for all the minimum openings, for all the lots, so that you don't have that race of who can get their house just a little bit higher for a view or a little bit lower for whatever reason. We approach it from an engineering standpoint of saying, okay, this is what we need to maintain for clearance above groundwater. We then develop the design of all of that, and Grant really leads that efforts to make sure that the built environment isn't just what's on the paper, but it actually responds to the conditions of the actual site.
Okay. The other question I have is, I'm sorry, I only had 2 questions, and I'm not going to say anymore. The other question I had was in reference to traffic. I have witnessed, I live in that area. I ride my bike in that area. I take my own life into my hands when I do that, but I'm there. How can you address that? Because you're going to add, say, 285 more homes, times that by 3. So we're talking, what, 700, 800 more cars potentially, okay, on a daily basis, if not more, if there's a block party or whatever the case is, okay? How can that be addressed? Because that is a serious problem. We can put all the houses up in the world, but if they can't get to it, it takes an hour, what's the point?
Well, I can just jump in again. And again, we started taking a preliminary look at what we can only control what we can control. That's the adjacent roadway. The Seatmans actually built Oconomowoc Parkway a number of years ago after the school, or as part of the school development. So first we wanted to analyze the data. How much traffic are we actually going to generate and at what peak times? That's what we have in front of us today. We can assist with further studies, and then I can also assist with, getting behind whoever we need to talk to from a county level to help drive this meeting and this collaboration that obviously needs to take place. And I really think this development will help push that process along. It seems like it's been lingering for a long time, and you've had different parties wanting it to go forward at different times. I feel that this will kind of bring everybody together here, and we can assist or be a part of that in any way possible, or offer our assistance per se to help facilitate that. We've encountered issues like this before in other municipalities. I've got some ideas potentially to help talk to staff about maybe how to address this, but that, we're willing to jump in and help in any way we can. So,
Thank you.
Alderman Rozak?
So a couple quick questions for you guys while you're up there. You're actually on the right slide right now. I think in your presentation, you you called this the Regional Gravel Trail and Boardwalk Trail Connection. In your actual packet of materials you sent to the Planning Commission, you said potential regional trail connection. So are you actually going to put in this through your phase 6 and 7, or is it a potential like you submitted to the Plan Commission?
So this will be a joint effort. As Brian talked about, there's a section of wetland that needs to be crossed here, and to get through that process, you have to go through the DNR. If we came in as just the developer, it would probably get some pushback. If the city came in as just the city, they'd probably get some pushback. But it'll be a joint effort that we come in together with something like this. Now, we'll take the lead on it, but
Who's going to pay for it?
Well, that's to be determined still, too.
Okay, so it's really, I mean, you put it on your plans, you put it in the presentation to make it appear that it's going in, and when in fact it's just pie in the sky, right?
It's a proposed
It's an
trail
idea that could
again,
go.
but it's a key amenity to our neighborhood, so obviously we'll be on the hook for a portion of it. We can work out the details, but we want to see that trail get built as well.
Well, sure, but you're not building the trail. You may be part of the trail.
To be determined.
To be determined.
We might end
Okay.
up building the trail.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
But again, we have to go through the process, which is through the DNR, which is going to take some time.
I understand that process.
Could I address that, though?
Yeah.
Is it okay? So when we get to the developers agreement stage, there'll be discussion as it relates to the impact fees relating to park fees that we would be required, and I imagine there'll be some negotiations as it relates to whether they're just gonna pay those impact fees or whether they will take care of that through building this trail.
Thanks, yeah, I understand that,
Okay.
Stan. Yeah, thank you. So one of the things you said during the presentation, and I'm not trying to be nitpicky here, I'm actually in favor of the project, and I'm actually very disappointed that village people came for about 45 minutes and we had to hear their comments. And when it was time to actually discuss why we were gonna vote the way we were gonna vote and for whatever potential, they all left. So I'm shocked, and we have to wait here, and, yeah, thank you. One out of the 30 or 40 that showed up. So, but I do have some concerns. So one of the things you said is there, in this development, you're gonna have $1.5 million houses in here?
No, we'll have houses up over $1 million on the yellow home sites. Again, someone comes in and they want a larger floor plan. Those are designed for more luxury move-up style houses. And when they purchase the options that we assume they'll purchase, the price points could exceed $1 million.
So I just want us to be clear about this project. I think when we position this is some kind of affordable housing project. It is not.
It's attainable. And I'll give you an idea here. Half the home sites, so the top two colors of orange up there, there's 71 plus 79 units. So that's 150 units that we are targeting that attainable price point. So half the units out here, we're targeting that attainable price point.
Yeah, don't get, you're misunderstanding, I think, my tone.
Okay.
I don't care if they're affordable or attainable. I think houses should be appropriate for the community they live in, and they're being built in. But $1.5 or $1 million homes, which I don't think a lot of people are going to build here next to $300,000 homes, are only in the 12 unit spots, right? The yellow. Those are the ones that may push $1 million.
Yes, those are the
Okay.
premium sites. They back up, they're the biggest lots that back up to the most open space. So that's what we're projecting for that luxury move up. And again, we offer the most floor plans on those sites. Someone could come in and want to build something a little bit smaller on that site, then so be it.
Fair enough. Okay. Not really any further questions for you guys, but just a few general comments, and then I'll be done. People ask questions about water. People brought up issues about water. We hope it doesn't flood other people's homes in the city or anything like that. Obviously, you guys are putting in a lot of drainage, and there will be water engineering plans to address those issues. But ultimately, the way I see developers like you is if there's water problems there, that's your problem. If you can't build a house.
Yeah,
There may be a section that at some point you start digging and you find out you lost 10 home sites because it's too wet. That's your problem. That's not our problem.
We also have a dry basement guarantee that it would blow up in our face and be a big time
Correct.
problem.
Yeah,
if we
you
had
guys would go
basements.
bankrupt if everyone was flooding. The folks that showed up from, first of all, the other thing, and I really do wish they would have stayed because there's important things. There was a recapture agreement in 2004 with the. Oh, that's good. That's good. I hope they are. So there was, in 2004, there was a recapture agreement with the city between the then developer of Arrowwood. And in 2019, there were claims and there were settlement agreements. And a release is part of that. And part of that was a guarantee of at least 285 units in this area. So in some sense, tonight, for the people that are listening from Summit, whether we care about the traffic or not, there's not much more we can do. They're asking for 12 more units than what we were required to provide under the agreement. And frankly, they're putting in less units than normally could have gone in that area. But as far as Valley Road and what's going on there, Valley Road is a county road. It's not in our control. And as a city, I don't think it's our job to control our development because there may be traffic going through other cities or other villages. If the people in Summit want to help, there are ways to help. We can work together with the county, which is the Economock Parkway, which controls that, and work with us to purchase land from Paganica in the home and move that family and put that road through. They can take out debt and do that. They can buy land and donate it to the county. That's not on the city. We don't have control of either one of those roads. And we shouldn't cut our nose off because someone else thinks we should. I guess my last kind of point is, if there was something we could do about the traffic, I think we've done something with Thackeray Trail. We've actually have created another kind of east-west connection to help alleviate some of that traffic. But when I wonder about traffic, I also wonder about, are the people from the village coming down Silver Lake and crossing through the city to go to our downtown? And is somebody taking traffic counts there? Probably not. And I'll bet you there's thousands of cars that go down Silver Lake to go into downtown every day from the village. So I'm all in favor of this project, but I think we just need to keep it in perspective. It may be attainable, but $300,000 to $350,000 houses with some going up to $1 million is not like some panacea of affordable housing in the city.
And for the audience and for council, just so you know, this process of addressing traffic has started already and discussions are already underway. That has to be addressed for everybody, and we need everybody on board to try to do it together. Alderman Kowalski.
Thank you very much for your time on the phone. I wanted to start out now with some of the concerns. Recently, Alderman Shellpepper and I had a listening session at the community center, and this project was one of the topics of concern, and I had concerns associated with it, specifically with the parkway, and we mentioned that during that period of time, and we've had that discussion. They have agreed to provide a letter that you started drafting today, that we were finish up in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
That'll go to our state representative, our county executive, and the city to help push that parkway to completion. It is not just a city issue. It is a city, village, and county issue. So those who came from the village, please attend your village meeting and put some pressure on them. It has got to be a collaborative effort. Yep. If
No.
Yep.
No.
Agreed.
Public hearing's done.
So I just wanted to make it clear, because some of the comments made it sound like it's the city's fault that this parkway is not done. It is not solely the city's fault that this parkway is not done. And I appreciate the fact that you're willing to put your name to pushing that forward. This is not, by any stretch, to your point, a small development. 300 homes at over $400,000 average is a $120 million development in our city. That'll add a lot to our tax base, and they're quality homes. There are some attainable price points. Those attainable price points in today's market is what it is. 20 years ago, $350,000 to $400,000, not so attainable. In today's market, it's a pretty attainable price, depending upon what the market does over the next 10 years. And this is a 10-year planned development. So there's gonna be a lot of foresight into that. And hopefully, realistically, this parkway will be done before this project is done. So I think we need to take that into account as well. One of the benefits associated with where this this is gonna be on the parkway could also add to opening up that tunnel quicker. The ped and bike path and while we can't make it a requirement, you may find some benefit in making sure that moves forward, just like the parkway. Those two things in our community have been extreme hot topics. It is because of the quality of this community that we see developers such as yourself come here, and I appreciate that, because it only makes it better. Cities are built to grow, and the quality of that growth is what we're here for. So we need to ask those tough questions. We need to help with staff and engagement, and I think that's all occurred. So I'm for it. I appreciate you dealing with the traffic. I was concerned about it. I think with that effort, we'll get that done. So I appreciate that.
Alderman Zaffel.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alderman Kozłowski and Alderman Rozak, for making your comments. Not going to be repetitive, but one of the first issues that Alder Kozłowski and I talked about was the parkway. And I appreciate your pushing that forward with the developers in regards to this project. As the alderperson for this district, I realize there is the traffic there. I see it daily when I drop my son off over at Silver Lake Intermediate. But I would like to put forward that we pass this development and waive this second reading.
I'll second that.
So are you making this as a motion, sir?
Correct.
And someone second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Spiegelberg.
Yep.
Oh,
Any further discussion? Alderman Kavieski.
Just to be clear, the motion is with a waiving of the second reading, so it would move forward as is, and I support that.
Correct. Yep.
Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
I'd like to entertain a motion to consider act on the
Welcome to
certified survey
Oconomowoc.
map. Certified map for the Vanguard Partners dividing one lot into two lots and two lots at the 1350 Royal Mile Road.
We have a certified survey map, Olympia. We've been working on this project for a while. We're reconfiguring the lots, and there's two CSMs on there. The reason for that is you can only put 4 lots per document. So they're doing 2 certified survey maps on the agenda this evening, and these are for the development of the Olympia Fields development.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved, Spiegelberg.
Second, Zaffel.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Alderman Rozak?
I do just have one. I predicted when this project started, and it's in, the first page, Land Division 1, which is what I think we're talking about, right? We're talking about the Land Division 1. It's a CSM review. It says Lot 1 will be 9.83 acres and used for future apartments. Beyond these 6, right? Is that what you meant? This beyond the 6 buildings?
No, that is for, that Lot 1 is for these apartments
For
that
the
we showed
apartments.
earlier.
Oh, not for some other future apartments?
No, it's for
Okay.
these apartments.
Okay, that's good. That was the only question I had.
Motion is made and second. Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Next item, consider act on the certified survey map for Wangud Partners dividing one lot into 3 lots and 1 lot at 1350 Royal Mile Road.
So moved, Rozak.
Second, Spiegelberg.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Next
Aye.
up. Next up
Want
is,
to take all these together?
no.
You can. Okay.
Consider act on ordinance 21-01012 to rezone 15.37 acres from RML to, and this is your first reading on this ordinance. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved, Ellis.
I'd like to
Yeah,
amend that to waive the first reading.
yeah.
Just gonna say that. You
Second
beat me to it.
Second, Spiegelberg.
Reading. Do I have a second?
Second, Ellis.
Further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Consider act on the next ordinance to create a planned development overlay district for the Olympia Fields at 1350 Royal Mile Road. And again, it's set up as a first reading. May I entertain a motion?
Said that one already.
I'll make
No.
that motion with the, foregoing the second reading.
Second,
Sounds
Zaffel.
good. Motion and a second, and to waive the second reading. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Next up is consider act on the certified survey map dividing 1 lot into 2 and creating 1 lot for Jiffy Lube at 1610 Water Place.
So moved, Ellis.
Second, Spiegelberg.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel. Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg. Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Next up, consider act on conditional
Aye.
use permit for Lube at
Waited an extra second. just to
1610
see
Water
if you-
Place.
Yeah, good.
Entertain a motion.
So moved, Ellis.
Second, Spiegelberg.
Any further discussion?
What are we doing?
Alderman Rozak?
I do have a very brief question on this one, Jason. If everyone would note in the staff recommendation form, Adam May from the Fire Department and Bob Duffy from our Department of Economic Development noted, no future businesses allowed until roadway is extended to the other side of the road, either to Old Schoolhouse or to the Qdoba area. I just call it the Qdoba area, that's what I know it as. I think we discussed this when we were doing Bubbles. That is a road to nowhere. It is a congested little mess. I am hesitant to even vote on this without that connection, although my understanding is that city staff has sent out some, or is planning to send some kind of letter.
Yeah,
Matt?
the letter went out, and it was signed by myself and staff and our public service folks to make sure that we had that along with the history of what had happened in previous years. Unless, Jason, you want to add more to that?
I believe that staff, including the fire district and others, are comfortable with this development tonight before you, the Jiffy Lube. But what we're saying is no additional connections to this roadway until it is extended. So there's 2 points of access because of the amount of traffic from Quick Trip. Bubbles is doing fantastic. They're getting more traffic than they thought. And now we're adding a third component. So with that, we kind of said, you know what, this is it. The next tenant in that area will have to extend it. The problem is Pabst Farms doesn't know if that's going to be a big box or another little user, so they want to hold off as long as they can. Once they have a comfort level, knowing who's coming in there, then they'll either go to Old Schoolhouse or go straight down to the condominium, the Qdoba place, as Alderman
There's a
Rozak
very
says.
good paper trail for this.
Good. Yeah, I
Alderman
mean,
Kavieski.
I didn't see, I'm sorry.
Sorry, he had
Yeah,
his hand.
I just had the follow-up, which is, can you, when you guys get a chance, if you can, share that letter with us, because I'd like to put it in my little file for future reference when, you know, they come up with something else, so somebody can remind them. I'm sure you will, Jason, or Matt, or someone, but it's, I'm hesitant to even vote on this without the connection, but if that's what you guys are recommending, I'm okay with that for now.
Alderman Kavieski?
I'm kind of in the same boat. Jiffy Lube, while relatively straightforward, it's the one business out of the 3 that may have some likelihood for a need for Western Lakes to make a trip down there.
Get it back
based on the
if they're
nature of what they're
down.
doing. So you've checked with Western Lakes, and there is no concern that if they need to get down there, that they can do that as
If you look
quickly
at
and
the
safely as possible.
screens in front of you, there's added feature was put in here. That is so they can have truck turning around. This was a requirement of the fire district. So there's things, I've worked extensively with Adam May at the fire district and Chief Bowen about this particular topic.
Sure,
Just-
Alderman Rozak.
I just want us to be very clear with Pabst Farms. They got a lot of money in TIF. We put a lot of stuff in out there, millions and millions of dollars. We made Hackney House put in a road to connect to the other end of the apartments. It has to absolutely happen if we do more there. I don't care what they put in. They could put in a little coffee truck and they got to put a connection road in.
I think you'll be pleasantly pleased with,
Okay.
with the letter.
Okay.
Because we did want to protect that, and
Awesome.
happy to share that. We'll have Matt send that off.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
So a motion, call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Great, and on to our last item, some new business. Consider act on the final design approval for the John and
I think,
Lavinia
did we
Rockwell
miss
Park.
the conditional use for Jiffy Lube? That was what we
Oh, I
acted on
did.
last was a certified survey map.
Yeah.
I did, I'm
In this
sorry.
motion, I ask that you reference the screen. There's 6 standards. I know Alderman Rozak always says that there's substantial evidence.
Yeah,
and-
I'll cover it. I'll move to approve the conditional use permit for Jiffy Lube based on substantial evidence presented, and that, at least based on the evidence I've seen, that the proposal conforms with all zoning and CUP requirements for the conditional use permit.
So moved, Ellis.
I think that was
A second,
That was a
yeah.
second.
That's a second.
Second.
I think we're getting tired.
Mhm.
Call roll,
So moved.
please. And Jason, thank you for correcting me. Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
And on to new business, Mr. Fry.
That's it? No buildup?
The Common Council consideration for the final design of the John and Lavinia Rockwell Park.
Thank you, Mayor. I am so thrilled to be here tonight talking about this project with this group. As you know, that a lot of time and effort have been put in by a lot of people to get us to where we're at today. And so we're here tonight looking for approval of the design plan that we have put together. I'll just let you know right now that the steps after this, should it be approved, is we're going to have to come back to you and talk about the second phasing of the engineering for SEH, because when we originally approved them, we only did the first 7 tasks, which gets us to where we're at tonight. So there are a lot of steps that come after this yet, so this is just the start, but we wanted to kind of walk you through a little bit of it. You know, it's interesting that, you know, you get so far along in a project and all of a sudden somebody comes and sticks a sign on your park that we didn't build. So I thought it was kind of nice. I thought it's a great way to open it up and talk about this. So also going to be presenting tonight is Craig Hebner from the Parks Department, and then Caitlin Blue from SEH is here. They're the consultant that we've hired. I think they've done excellent work on this. I've been just thrilled throughout the whole process. So real quick, we're going to talk about, you know, some of the timelines that have taken place. I'm not going to read every date. I'm sure that I probably have gone over all this stuff. They'll be playing,
Sorry,
yeah.
we just
They'll
want
be
to get to the
playing.
Bucks game at some point.
They'll be playing. I do have I can click on an icon and bring it up on the screen instead of this. Okay, so land acquisition, so we've got 525 was a generous donation through the Hero family. 517 was 1,000+ donors combined by into a single parcel by certified survey map. Park Design Committee, so this is a group of individuals from the fundraising committee. They held 5 meetings prior to, or I'm sorry, 4 meetings, and then SEH was approved for the design engineering in April. And then after that, we had several public meetings. The May 24th one was scheduled to be the last public meeting, but we'd heard enough comments, felt that we needed to take some time and step back, look at that and come back with another plan, have another public meeting. So that's what took place on June 29th. that's gotten us to this point. This is the flyover of the proposed plan. And so now Caitlin's from SEH is going to come up and talk about, you know, some of the comments that we heard and some of the things that we did through the process in order to get to where we're at here. I'll get that. Hey, our groupies are here.
Vacation.
Hi, everybody. Happy to be here talking with you about this project tonight and where we're at today with the concept plan. As Mark mentioned, there's a lot of steps ahead. Just to orient you to some of the key features that I'll be referencing repeatedly throughout the presentation. You know, if you were driving to the site, there is this just entry drive here, which just has an accessible parking space and a drop-off area for someone who's maybe dropping off a family member who can't walk to the site, for example, you know, taking their lawn chairs into the site, things like that. So there's no permanent parking on the site. That's the first thing you might all remember from our previous presentations. Once we're in the site, we have our plaza with a restroom that's built into the hillside here to minimize the visual impact of that restroom and preserve the natural character of the site. We have our kayak launch trails, so we're proposing in this conceptual design to reuse the existing boathouse as an accessible kayak ramp. So that would be the downstream kayak access for those who want an accessible route. And then up on Fowler, we have a kayak stair, and then leading down to another accessible kayak ramp at the water. So in each location, we have stairs on the Lac La Belle side. It's this long linear stair against the boardwalk for those who just want to pull right up. And then there's an accessible option for people who maybe need a little bit more infrastructure for this kayak portage to be accessible to them, or canoe portage for that matter. Again, with the portage route, we've got two routes. There's one that is accessible, so it's a 4-foot wide trail with passing bump outs to minimize its pavement impact. So that comes kind of wrapping up the hillside following the existing grade to our kayak access point over here. And the length of this trail is really driven by the grades on the site. We do also have a more direct portage access route for those who want to just take the stairs and climb right up the hill and to these other stairs here. So we're trying to provide options for our more able-bodied users as well as our folks who need to use a kayak cart or other such amenities to help them with their portaging. As you move up into the top end of the site, we have our front porch, which is the key feature. We've got this pergola to provide some shade and to make this kind of the marquee area within the site. We'll show you a few more images of that. This is sitting on top of that restroom, so you can see the doors for the restroom here, the front porch above. It's accessed either by stairs that I'm tracing with my little red cursor, or we have this kind of long meandering route, which is available for people with strollers, wheelchairs, and the like to be able to access that front porch. There's also a secondary, maybe, you know, flagstone or other more rustic path that utilizes this existing stair access and climbs up to the front porch as well. Along the way, too, we've got the back porch, which provides a bit more of an experience on the water at Fowler Lake. And we have the Peacock Dam overlook for folks who want to get right up to that rushing water that's over here. So those are the key amenities, and we'll look through those in a little bit more detail. So we wanted to start by just telling you some of the feedback we're responding to. You know, we didn't come up with this plan in a vacuum. So the quotes that you're seeing here are from our first public engagement meeting back in May. A previous plan, and then the plan that you're seeing is how we have responded to those comments. So one of the overwhelming things we heard with the initial plan that we presented was that we wanted to get rid of any spare concrete on the site that we could. So that was an overwhelming message that we wanted to hear. So in response to that, we reduced this kayak portage route from 6 feet to 4. We also, you know, anywhere we could, we converted some sidewalk into more of this kind of rustic, potentially flagstone. We don't know exactly yet. That's for the next phase of design development, but something that's not just a concrete sidewalk. It has a more natural feel to it. So that's here and up here. We have tried to eliminate concrete in those areas and use some decorative pavement just to break it up and make it feel less like sidewalk and more natural and in keeping with the character of the site. The portage route, as I've already kind of walked through this, but you can see that we have this dichotomy of directives. We need a direct route for the kayaks, and we need an accessible route for the kayaks. So we tried to provide both of those, both the route that gets up the hill and back down for those who need wheels to do their portaging or need a more gradually sloping route, and a more direct access route as well. This is a rendering of kind of what you can see, the portage route climbing the hill. So you can kind of see the grade that we're contending with. There's some stairs coming up in the background there, and this is the more gradually sloping path. Within this area, as you could see in the previous rendering, we do have significant topography that we're contending with. Initially, we presented that as a dry stream or a dry bed creek in this area, and that idea, frankly, didn't resonate with folks at the public meeting. They were much more interested in utilizing some of the existing tree canopy, softening the grades here, and creating a shade garden. So we're still in a bit of a sunken condition in this area to make it feel a little bit more secluded and like it's kind of inside of the natural area instead of sitting on top of it like the experience up here. But it's more of a shade garden experience, and that really was driven by your community members, how we decided to program that part of the site. This is a rendering of what we hope that experience to be if you're sitting under the trees looking out towards the Peacock Dam. We also heard that we wanted more access to the water, and in response to that, we pushed some of these trails closer to the water to provide a little bit more direct views and more variety. So you're kind of coming in and out of the site, but really, we wanted to make this a lot about engagement with our waterways here. There's one place where we did do the expansion of the water route. This is a bit of a better view, or excuse me, the routes towards the water. This is a better view of the back porch, so you can see our proposed, swings over here, so you can kind of sit and sway and look out at the water. And this is located near an existing stair that also kind of provides the opportunity to walk down directly to the water in an area where otherwise there's a bit of a grade change to contend with of about 4 feet. So the plaza and restroom has been another big point of discussion. We heard overwhelmingly that we wanted the bathroom to be as discreet as possible, and that we liked the idea of building the restroom into the grade so it doesn't become an architectural feature in and of itself. We wanted to feel like it's part of that natural character of the site. So to hear that feedback and respond to it, we did reorient the restroom. So previously it was on kind of a diagonal so you could see it well from the road. We tucked it back in underneath the front porch, and we also added plantings to these plazas so that when you're out in the site and you look back, the facade is broken up a bit by some natural planting areas. I will say too, just to share with you, that the feedback we received on the comment cards at our second public meeting was pretty overwhelmingly favorable. I think we got all of the written comments we received regarding the restrooms were in support of the restrooms as designed. There's a bit more of a rendering of what those would look like. So you can see on the facade, we're proposing a stone veneer or something. The nice thing about burying the restrooms in the grade is that we really only have to worry about one facade as opposed to 4 on a freestanding restroom above grade. We also have this possible donation of these old historic millstones that we're proposing we could use in the facade just as a callback to the history of Oconomowoc. With that, I will hand it back over to Mark, or to Craig, excuse me, to Craig. Thanks, guys.
Anybody need a Bucks update?
Yes, we do.
No.
No. Come on.
Some people don't want to know.
Some people are
Then come over and whisper.
Just tell you, it's a really good game in the third quarter. Like close. Couple quick slides. We want to thank some people, obviously. So first, this started out with the Harrow family and their $600,000 donation for the 525 parcel. I thought Mike was going to stick around for that. Thank you, but he left. And then these folks right here, Chris and Frank, along with over 1,000 generous individuals, raised another $1.35 million. So obviously around $2 million. We've also, for the first phase of this with SEH, has spent some money that was raised additionally. And there it shows you the house demolition cost of $26,000, including any of the other stuff they had to deal with. The 2 topics I really want to talk about is accessibility in the restrooms. Because this was a large discussion, I'll make it short. The city really stands strongly that we do want to make this park accessible to all. That doesn't mean every single square inch of it is, but the key parts, the overlook of the dam, the kayak launches, and getting to the front porch, we thought was very important. So that's what you'll see in this plan. Restrooms at our first public meeting, I would say was pretty 50-50. I think when we got to the second meeting, it was actually higher in favor of going with restrooms. We tried to shrink them down as much as they could, and our concept plan would be 2 unisex restrooms
which are literally 8 by 8 size, pretty small. They would be, as Caitlin mentioned, tucked underneath the front porch and used kind of into the system. I got some quick numbers for you on maintenance, and we can talk about larger numbers of construction too, but figure out all the things that go into a restroom of this size, it's about $2,400 on an annual cost to maintain these restrooms. It would be. That includes your paper toweling, toilet paper, soap. That includes all the utilities, electric, water, sewer, et cetera. That does not include time of staff, but that's all your cost that goes into it. It was about $2,400. We tore down, if you remember, Riverside Park restrooms back at the end of 2019. So they're kind of a comparable size, but so staff would be able to handle this as well. And now I'm turning it back over to Mr. Fry. It's still a close game.
So the interesting thing about being around here long enough is I was here for the Village Green process, and I saw a lot of similarities, you know, in working on the John and Lavinia Rockwell Park. And when I was looking at this, I thought, you know, probably a lot of people don't remember how nice this area looked downtown by Fowler Lake prior to that process. But like I said, there's a lot of comparisons. Both parks are 1.4 acres. So Village Green, the grading and minor grading and the sidewalk work that went into that back in 2014 was just over $300,000. And then we came back a couple of years later and we completely redid the boardwalk, and the boardwalk itself was $1 million. So basically $1.3 million invested into the Village Green. I think it's been a big success. I think people talk about it. It's widely used, so it's just a great facility. And I'll just pop through these really quick just to show you the difference of what we're able to do with that project. But I'll also bring out the fact that, you know, one of the things that we're missing in this area that just didn't happen through the first stages was restrooms. There was a lot of discussion on where they should go, what the final park layout should be. This park was pretty much laid out for the German Christmas market and those types of events. That's why the sidewalk pattern's the way that it is, to allow for sales areas to go up alongside each side of them and not wreck the sod through the night. I think this is the most impressive picture as to what has really changed down in this area. I mean, like I said, I'm sure a lot of people just don't know or don't realize that this is how nice of a boardwalk that we had compared to this now. So when we look at these parks, there's a lot of things. And, you know, when I was looking at this picture, I remembered this, you know, we referred to it as a sign, and I'm sure that Alderman Rozak will remember that there was a lot of conversation on this. One, and Alderman Ellis, one was the number of them. So they were looking to put one of these at every one of those rounded out areas, and we decided to go with 2. But at that time, this is a $26,000 item. And we were there, and it was a lot of discussion on whether or not to do it. I'm glad that we reduced the number, but I think it really helps set off that area. So once again, you know, you can talk cost or you can talk value, and it's easy to, you know, look at this now as a completed project and see the value in it, when a lot of people don't realize, you know, what the cost was for that. So here's our one drawback. You know, this is our Village Green facilities. It's a porta potty that we have behind a fence. And like I said, you know, I know that there's discussion now, but, you know, that was the one big hang up, that we didn't know where they should go, so bathrooms never got built. We left utilities stubbed into the site in several locations, so that way when we go to move forward, we can be looking at that. Well, now I'll turn it back to Craig.
I'm right here. I'm keeping track of the score. I just want to leave you with a couple images of some pictures of the park. This is all new. If you were able to celebrate July 3rd and the fireworks, it was a fantastic use of the park, ribbon cutting. Basically, as an outsider to the community myself, what I see as an exciting part about this is the legacy this is going to leave for the community. It's going to be an amazing property. So this is looking out towards the dam, up on kind of a high area, look at Fowler. This is basically where one of the kayak launch areas will be. We have to protect the dam easement here, so we'll put it down kind of in this circle area. We talked about the restrooms, and here's kind of the image, and here's an actual live picture of what the wall currently looks like and how it could be used. And then probably the best feature is being up high elevation. So picture on the left is we call the back porch, that's Fowler Lake. The picture on the front side here, front porch on the right, is LaBelle. And my favorite picture of all, since I know who took this one on July 3rd, as the sun was going down, this place is gonna be packed with people. So I just see the use for walkers, kayakers, sunsetters, sunrisers is gonna be tremendous. So again, this is gonna be an awesome legacy for the city of Oconomowoc. Mark gets to finish it.
When we put this picture into the presentation for tonight, when I first looked at it, when Craig had sent it to me, I thought, wow, that's $1 million view. Then I remembered the estimated cost of the park is 1.5 million, so now it's a $1.5 million view. But, I did talk a little bit about the cost estimate. This is where we're at. This would be to completely finish everything, everything that you saw on the, you okay, sir? But it'll completely finish everything that we talked about as we walked through the proposed layout and the features that are in there. I broke it down further as to what I thought were base components. You know, remember where we talked about Village Green, where the city went in and put in, you know, a lot of those certain components, you know, to that. Based on that, you know, for the engineering, construction management, the site prep work, some of the utility work, the big cost is the shorelines, a lot of the work on the shoreline. So that's $647,000. So about 650, and then the upgrade components, and I wanted to break them out separate, is $850,000. And so that would include the kayak launches, benches, chairs, drinking fountains, the bollards, all the structures, the front porch, the back porch area, the restrooms. So, you know, we did divide those out. And so, you know, we're here to make a recommendation tonight that we move forward with this project with the plan that's before you tonight. And, you know, so we do know some of the costs, but, you know, we need to get this thing designed and get it out to bid to see the actual numbers. And by having an approved plan from the Common Council would also allow the fundraising teams that's in place right now to try and raise the money to complete this park, time to go around with a completed plan that's been approved in order to help their efforts to raise funds. As I mentioned, we're gonna have to come back and talk about the engineering costs, so that'll be at the next meeting, should this be approved. We're also gonna have to come back once we get all the construction bids, and that's where we can break out those costs and hopefully have a better idea where the fundraising efforts have been at that time. So we do look at this, you know, Craig used the word legacy, I always use the word unique, but I think, you know, this has got the potential to be probably what I would say the best park in the city of Oconomowoc. So with that, you know, any questions and discussion?
Alderman Zapfel?
Thank you, Mark and Craig and team, for all your hard work on this project. Just a couple quick questions here. I'll ask the questions and then you can answer them after that. How many community meetings did you have again? I know you pointed it out, but if you could just reiterate that with community input. And then also too, if this is approved today, there is no funding attached to this. This is just the design for you guys to go out and raise the funds for this project, correct?
That's correct. I believe there was 5 or 6 public meetings. And by public meetings, that was either the Park Design Committee from the fundraising group. We also met with Park and Rec Board. We had Committee of the Whole. We did 2 public informational meetings down at the police station. We had originally only had planned for the
Thank you, Mark. I have no more questions.
That was quick.
All right.
Alderman Kavieski.
I think he wants to make a motion.
Can you go back a couple slides, please? To the one we have there, right there. And then, so that's not a $1.5 million view, that's a minimum $15 million view, plus what could have been there, plus, you know, the tax revenue that the city is putting into this as part of its dedication as a park. And it's priceless. and it is going to be a fantastic view from that front porch. It's more than 1.5. It is priceless. Can you go one forward? So yeah, about $1.5 million of additional costs associated with the concept plan that you're asking us to approve today. The kayak launches, I think, should definitely be in the base components. Part of the dedication of the 525 property was as a passive portage park, which means that it should be able to move kayaks and canoes between the two bodies of water. So I think that should be, instead of the upgrade component, I think it really should be in the base component. I know it's kind of getting into the weeds, but as fundraising needs some direction, I think that should be in there. I've been vocal about a few elements, and I really appreciate SEH's refocusing on a more natural setting for the park. Originally, when this came to council for consideration and approval, this park's intent and purpose was for a place for those who were doing Fowler Lake walk to stop and really kind of get more of the experience of that shoreline, the dam, and the views associated with that. And the pictures that we were provided didn't have the front porch. Awesome idea. This, it's going to be great. It didn't have the bathroom and it didn't have the turnaround. I don't support the turnaround there. I think that's going to become an issue. If you take a look at where that image, the rendering is, where you have right there, there you go. So if I'm heading south on North Lake Road on that side, in order for me to get into the park, I'm going to have to cross one of those entry points, actually, and then another entry point to get to the pathway to actually get into the park. As I've been watching some of the traffic associated with what's going on at the park right now, I've seen cars go in there, park, stay for quite a while. I really don't think that's appropriate there. I'd like to see that removed. I know you're looking for a final recommendation for an approval. That's why I say that. I'm not going to support it with that in it. I'm also not going to support it, and I appreciate the comments about the bathrooms. Prioritizing other areas of our community to accommodate for this, I don't think is appropriate. And having the bathrooms there, I get, hey, I'm doing the walk, I need a place to go to the bathroom. I've been there. But I don't think this is the place for it. I think they're more appropriately served in the downtown, in the Village Green, where you have large gatherings. It's designed for large gatherings. The parking is there to support the large gatherings. There is no parking to support large gatherings here. You have to park someplace else, and you have to walk to the park. So I believe if this were to eliminate the bathroom and that turnaround, I would completely support it. Again, that wall is going to be unique. It's going to be a great place to highlight the generous donors that really have made this park a reality. And without those generous donors, not only does this park not become a reality, but a lot of the greatest assets that this city has wouldn't be where we are. So I want to make sure they have clear direction. I want to make sure that they're appreciated and that they don't get the rug pulled out from under them, so to speak. So I don't know if it's appropriate at this time to make a request or a motion to remove that turnaround in the bathroom and to allow for the design to move forward without those, because I won't support it with them in.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
I think it's time for us to move forward on this. We approve the design, and then we start getting the engineering and public bidding for the construction. We will still have an opportunity for input after that. But I think we need to keep moving this down the road and not keep putting this off.
So who has a motion?
Wait. Alderman Rozak had his hand up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question, Karen. This is different than we normally do this, and I think that's what's throwing some of us for a loop. We're being told that there will be city participation at some point, but we don't know to what extent. If we approve the design as is, and it's really 1.5, 1.6, whatever, Is the city contribution $1 million? Is it 600? We're approving a design that we don't know what we're gonna participate in. And we're gonna start doing engineering.
It could be zero. Those,
Well,
once you get the design and the information, then it'll come back to you guys to
Yeah.
make those decisions. And then the comments of, well, we're not gonna put money in for bathrooms. We're going to remove the drop-off area for the seniors and for the disabled. All of those things can be brought at that point. Until we can get those details in the pricing, I don't know that we can go any further, but.
Well, that's what I want clarification on, is if we approve this design tonight and we start doing engineering, we're going to spend money to engineer things. And I've seen in the past where, you know, we do a little bit and then it's like, well, we can't go back now because we've spent 10,000 engineering it.
I thought that was Alderman Zapfel's first question. If we approve this, are we committing to any money? And you said no.
Oh,
Correct.
That was the first question
He
that
cut
was
me off
asked.
before I got to that point in my response.
Okay.
He was very short in his response, but he
You know
answered.
what? I mean, why even sit here and ask questions if I'm just gonna get cut off? I mean.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to get clarity on where we're going. I've got, I don't care about the turnaround. I do have concerns with the bathroom and the cost. And it's in
So
the
I
memo.
think-
Historically, major projects are designed around a set dollar amount. We're instead taking a design that was created by other people, not this council, like we've done in other projects, and then we're being told to approve the plan, we'll do the engineering, and then we'll come back to you for some other final approvals where now we're forced to take things out. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think anyone's gonna take anything out once this plan is approved. So this will be likely the end. Yeah, I'm not trying to cut anyone off. I wanna just ask those questions. If you're gonna guarantee us that we're gonna get another shot at this stuff, great. I am concerned, and I know the Hero family is concerned about the bathrooms as well.
so Mr. Fry, can you just go through the process one more time so that the council fully understands what the ask is for this proposal as well as the financial component?
So the item tonight is to look at the final design plan, and at that time, we're not making any statement of cost from the city. Not right now. I'm not saying that there won't be, but it's not right now, because we want to get an approved plan that we would then come back, probably at the next meeting, with a proposal from SEH to complete the engineering in order to finish the plans for the bidding and specifications involved with that, and that would then go out to the market, and we would receive competitive bids. Those numbers have to come back to the Common Council. And once we have the final numbers for the project, and we'll have some time that the fundraising group has had the ability of having an approved plan to go out and try and raise the funds for the, what I consider the updated features to this park, then we're going to be coming back to this council, and the council makes the final decision. You're the ones that approve the construction, the construction contract. So if pricing doesn't come in, and this is the nice thing, we have several components to this. If pricing comes in high and no one's comfortable with that, there's some items that we can either delay or we come back and just completely remove them. But, as I mentioned, the Village Green started out, just over $300,000. I looked at this, and if I said, if we wanted to build a white box, bare minimum for what we would do in a standard city park, that's that $650,000 number.
What do we think engineering's gonna cost?
I got it at just a little bit over $50,000 to complete, but we haven't got that proposal.
How much money do we have in the bank right now? Do we know?
So right now, the only money that's out there is the remainder of the $150,000 that was earmarked for improvements to the park area. Of that, the number was just over $26,000 that we spent on the demolition, and that's the only thing that we've taken out of that account to date. So we have about $130,000.
City money, not
Correct.
privately
That is
fundraised. Correct.
Alderman Kavieski?
So, because in the best interest of time and direction, I think what you're looking for from this council is approval of the design concept so it can move forward.
Correct.
What I'm suggesting is, I'm making a motion that I would support the design concept so we can move forward with this, because it needs to move forward without the bathroom and without the turnaround. I would make that motion for consideration, go through the rest of the process, get your numbers. If you then want to do something different because it's not done, then add it back in at a later time. But I'm not going to approve, I'm not going to give you my vote to approve this with those two elements in it. If you want
Do
to
we
try to.
have a motion on the floor? Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I will make one comment. I try not to comment too much. You have a complete community that's designed this, and for one alderman to want to have something removed when the whole community has put their heart and soul into this, it's much easier to have a large core design and pull something out than to put something back in. And the amount of work that was done by our staff, by the committees, to go down this path, folks, is really, really a travesty. This is something that we can agree to disagree on this, Alderman Kavieski. I understand your position. What I can also tell you is categorically, I sat down with the heroes and all of them, and I sat down them, and they are fine with the bathroom. The bathroom is also not located on 525. I sat down and listened to them.
I call
and
the
we
question.
went through that. So I made a comment, or is a motion and a second?
No, there is not.
Is there
I
further?
was mistaken.
Is there further comment?
I was mistaken in my second. I thought we were,
You wish to remove your second?
I wish to remove my second. That is correct.
So we have a motion. Does anyone want to second the motion?
Yeah, I'll second it. Let it get voted on.
So second it, okay. Any further discussion?
Just want to have
Alderman?
Alderman Mulder's comments entered into the record that were provided to us this evening.
They were great comments.
So can we restate the motion?
The motion in the second was to remove the bathroom and the turnaround. That was it.
Okay.
And it's not one for everybody that you've talked to, that you, that support those two elements, and I know there's people out there, there are other people that I've talked to that don't.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Vote on the motion, please.
So there's a motion on the floor. Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye. Or nay. Nay.
Alderman Ellis.
Nay.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Nay.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Fails.
So the motion does not pass. I'd like to entertain another motion.
I'll move to approve the design plans as presented.
Second, Spiegelberg.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Nay.
Alderman Rozak.
Nay.
Motion passed. Thank you. So let's move on to comments from the aldermen. Do we have any comments from aldermen? Alderman Kavieski, go for it.
Surprise, surprise. No, we can't, we meet twice a month and we represent 17,000 people.
I know.
Okay,
It's all.
I understand, I'm here too.
No, you have the right to voice your opinion and go for it.
So my comment is in regards to Alderman Ellis's efforts that were in the paper to open up the tunnel and to take a stand, to show up with a shovel, and to destroy public property. I don't think that's ever a good position for an elected official to advocate for. I think there are opportunities to get this right and to get the entities that are required in order to move it forward together and get it done correctly. I've had some communication with County Executive Paul Farrow, who has provided me with some information that Waukesha County and the City of Oconomowoc intend to apply for the CMAQ funding in 2021. Applications are due August 2nd of 2021. The state makes recommendations to the U.S. Department of Transportation for projects to receive funding by late fall of 2021. Formal announcement of funding recipients is in spring of 2022. Project construction would start in 2025. Waukesha County and the City of Oconomowoc intend to apply for a TAP funding in 2022. Applications due late January of 2022. State makes recommendations to U.S. Department of Transportation for projects to receive funding by June of 2022, and formal announcement of funding recipients is in July, August of 2022. Project construction would start again in 2025. Waukesha County continues to monitor federal discussions regarding separate infrastructure funding. We have an opportunity to also take a look at impact fees and addressing impact fees associated with bridging any gaps and adding any funds to make that tunnel a reality. Those are the proper channels to go through, not gathering a bunch of people with shovels and whatever else they bring to potentially create a hazard. I would highly recommend that the public that saw that article not attend, and that they would support our public officials, both on the county, state, and city side, to gather the funds to get this done as quickly as possible. It may not get done as quickly as we would like, but it will get done. It'll get done properly, and it'll get done safely, and it'll provide for the appropriate passage from one side to the other of Highway 67. I appreciate the passion that Alderman Ellis has provided. I know it's a topic of safety. It is with me as well. Just like every other family that lives in the city of Oconomowoc or visitor that comes and crosses that, that stretch of road on a bike or on their feet, it is a priority. It needs to remain a priority, but we're not going to accomplish that with a shovel and moving of dirt one shovel at a time. I appreciate it. Go Bucks.
Any other comments from Alderman Zaffel?
Just be brief. Hopefully, the Bucks bring home a good birthday present for our reporter from the Oconomowoc Enterprise. Happy birthday, Alex.
Oh, happy birthday. Hey. Any other comments from Alderman? With no additional comments from Mayor, have a wonderful day and go Bucks.
I need a motion.